What's up, Chaos Shinobi here. Summary: Naruto is born as Madara Uchiha's great-grandson and has a fully matured sharingan at birth unlike any other Uchiha. Naruto gains the Rinnegan after the Uchiha massacre. The villagers suspect his father of causing the attack of Nine Tails and Naruto is outcasted by the village. Let's begin. Chapter 1. A few years after Madara Uchiha left Konohagakure/Hidden Leaf swearing revenge on the same, he came back secretly and married a certain Subarashi Uchiha who was not unlike him. They soon had a son who had inherited both the wood style and the sharingan from his father Madara. Madara named his son Tajima Uchiha after his own father. He then left the village again claiming that he needed to make peace in the world and hoped that Subarashi and Tajima would one day understand why he did so. Soon after he left the village, the villagers found out that Tajima was Madara's son. The village including the Uchiha outcasted Subarashi and Tajima because of who they were. Many of the villagers had tried to assault him as well. During the First Great Ninja War, Tajima started out in the academy. Though the only one who even considered him a good friend might have been Kagami. The two of them weren't extremely close friends in the beginning like Hiruzen Sarutobi and Danzo Shimura, but Kagami and Tajima were still friends. Anyone who said that Tajima wasn't a prodigy would be seriously wrong. He had huge amounts of chakra and was already good in Katan and Raiten before starting at the academy. When he started at the academy he was a mere 5 years old and he already had a 3 Tomoe sharingan in each of his eyes, though he rarely ever used it. He could also do basic wood style. Tajima became a Jonin at the young age of 5 and Chunin at 6 and was promoted to Jonin by the age of 12. He was a war hero in the First Great Ninja War. Tajima soon after gained respect among all villagers. He was also given the choice of becoming clan head as well as Hokage, though he had refused both as he was happier being a normal shinobi though an extreme senior. But a lot of the common populace suspected that he would follow in father's footsteps and want to destroy Konoha. A part of Tajima wanted to do so before he came to be known as a hero due to all the hatred he received from the villagers. Even after being known as a hero, there was still a part of him, though extremely small, which wanted to exact revenge for what the village did to him in his youth. Tajima had manifested both the Mangekyo Sharingan during the First Great Ninja War. Then a few years later during the Second Great Ninja War once again was considered a hero and he had manifested the Rinnegan due to him having both Senju and Uchiha powers when his wife was killed during the end of the Second Great War. He was again offered the post of Hokage, which he declined. Tajima fathered a son whom he had named Izuna Uchiha after his uncle. Izuna ended up growing much like his father and he was considered to be as strong as Madara Uchiha himself. Though the number of people who considered this was less, most people believed he could only rival Madara Uchiha and not beat him. Izuna was even more of a prodigy than Tajima. Izuna was Jonin at 5, Chunin at 6 and Jonin at a mere age of 10. He was a war hero of Third Great Ninja War along with Minato Namikaze, who were later considered equals. He and Minato were extremely good friends, both having learned from the Toad Sage, Jiraiya. One of the greatest victories of Minato was him having thwarted the chances of Iwa in the war, and Izuna's greatest victory was having thwarted the chances of Kumo in the war. Kumo, Iwa and Kiri had formed an alliance to destroy Konoha after Minato had taken down over 1,000 Iwa shinobi, from which Kumo would get 50%, Kiri would get 40% and Iwa a mere 10%. At least this way they would be on the winning side. Kumo had chosen to attack Konoha head-on, and in case they were stopped, Kiri would continue the assault, after which Konoha would not stand. Though Konoha might have been strong, it would be unable to take on two villages together. The third Raikage was leading over 10,000 worthy Kumo shinobi into battle against Konoha, though his son A, the candidate for the fourth Raikage, and Killer B, two of the strongest Kumo shinobi, were left guarding the village in case someone attacked. The news of Kumo marching towards Konoha had reached the Konoha shinobi, hearing which Izuna marched head-on into the Kumo troops led by the third Raikage. The Raikage was in battle armor. He had a scar on his shoulder. His scar made him look menacing and threatening. The 10,000 shinobi he led were no joke either. Each one was a level 2 jonin. Many of them could be called suicide on the battlefield to shinobi of their own rank. A few of them together could take down thousands of shinobi. They were all wearing Kumo jonin uniforms. Their march shook the ground itself. They left nothing alive in their wake. This march could have been called the strongest march of all time. During midday, when the Kumo shinobi were marching ahead, a young Konoha shinobi landed in front of them. He was wearing the Konoha Hitai 8, but nothing about him was like Konoha. He was wearing a black vest, which no village wore in the entire 5 nations. He had a grin on him which said, "You don't want to fight me." He was none other than Uchiha Izuna. His hair was as long as Madara's. It was unkempt. His eyes were normal and he was very cool for a person who was about to take on 1,000 Kumo shinobi. Looking at him, the Raikage taunted him saying, "Boy, move and I shall spear you. If you don't, You have sealed your fate. Izuna grinned and asked, the fate of me becoming the person who destroyed over 1,000 Kumo shinobi? The Raikage was perplexed. He was clearly not expecting such an arrogant answer from this Konoha shinobi. Then he examined him. He clearly looked like someone. Then it hit him. The Konoha shinobi standing in front of him looked just like the statue of Madara Uchiha which he had just seen a few seconds ago. This was clearly Madara Uchiha's grandson. He was exactly like Madara. Madara's son Tajima had retired after the Second War. Thus, this shinobi in front of him was Madara's grandson Izuna Uchiha. Though Izuna was an SS-rank shinobi, but even an SS-rank shinobi couldn't take on over 1,000 Kumo shinobi. The Raikage thought that he ought to be courteous and returned a grin to Izuna, though he was boiling on the inside. He said with all the pride and arrogance, you might be Madara Uchiha's grandson, but even you cannot take over 1,000 of us. The Raikage had seriously underestimated Izuna. Izuna clearly hated being underestimated. He wanted to be known for his own strengths, not because his grandfather was Madara Uchiha. People outside the village came to fight him only because he was Madara Uchiha's grandson. They did not even care to know that he was in fact way stronger. He was never known for his own strength but only because of his grandfather's. He was jealous of the fact that people respected his friend Minato explicitly for his own strengths. He hoped that this battle would change all of that. He wanted to prove to this Raikage who was looking down on him that he was way too powerful for these Kumo shinobi. The Raikage manifested his lightning armor covering his whole body. He said, let's see you take on me and my people and stay alive for the first 10 minutes. The Raikage and the remaining Kumo shinobi laughed a little. Izuna was infuriated. He didn't let any of that come and surface on his face. He knew that he was a true shinobi. The Raikage was right now the fastest shinobi alive, or so he was thinking until Izuna used his own lightning armor. His was much brighter than the Raikage's and seemingly much stronger. Izuna smirked and smiled in a way that creeped the Raikage out and there was nothing that could creep him out. He said, let's see you survive for the first minute. Then we can talk about my survival. The Raikage thought Izuna had used his Mangekyo Sharingan to copy his move and had then improvised, but he was proved wrong when the lightning armor of Izuna got mixed with a black fire armor, the famed Amaterasu, flames that didn't die until they consumed their target. Izuna then used Susanoo. It slowly emerged. A pitch-black Susanoo. First the ribs, then slowly it turned into an entire skeleton. The Raikage gulped in fear. Then it grew up to become a full proper body. Then it developed an armor covering the body and it had reached the final stage. His Susanoo was darker than the darkest night. It was as big as a mountain. The killing intent radiating from it was unbearable. It was absorbing all the chakra around. The sun was not even visible. Soon, everything around became so cold that few of the shinobi started freezing to death. That was how unbelievable Izuna's Susanoo was. The Kumo shinobi started taking a step back and they started retreating. Even the Raikage wanted to retreat but he would not destroy the pride of Kumogakure no Sata by retreating when faced with just one shinobi. He knew that boosted morale was stronger than any killing intent. He went to the farthest of Kumo shinobi ranks. He was going to do what was necessary for boosting their morale. He screamed with pride so that his voice could be heard by everyone. Shinobi of Kumogakure no Sato, are we going to retreat at the face of just one shinobi? Are we going to deface and destroy the pride of our village at the face of just one shinobi? Are we going to shame our village by retreating against one person? He added more strength to his voice and asked again, are we? The Kumo shinobi bent their heads down in shame. A few of them even said in fear of death, you are a Raikage. You might be able to face him fearlessly. But us? We aren't as strong as you are. We aren't as fearless as you are. The Raikage said angrily, you are talking about fearlessness. You are feeling fear now? The Raikage wanted to kick those who had just said that. Why did they even come along if they wanted to retreat at the last moment? But now he couldn't possibly lose even one shinobi. He needed the support of all of them. He said, fearless you say? Let me tell you one thing comrades, I am not fearless. Even I am afraid of war and fights, but look at me, do I retreat in the face of fear? Let me tell you all, my comrades, the more you face your fear the weaker it becomes. Fearlessness is not what is important. It is the courage to overcome your fear. Tell me, can we not beat this tyrant in front of us if we do it together? Together we can conquer the whole world. What is one shinobi compared to the whole world? Will you fight with me to the bitter end? All the Kumo shinobi now said in harmony, we shall. The Raikage then said, let us show this tyrant what we Kumo shinobi are made up of. To victory my comrades, to victory. The Kumo shinobi resounded together. To victory. The Raikage felt that he had done a good job raising the morale of the shinobi. Izuna yawned and said, that was inspirational and all, but are you guys planning to attack anytime soon? If you won't, I shall come to hand death to you in a silver platter." This did the job of angering the Raikage and all the Kumo shinobi. Now their actions would be led by their anger and not by their rationality. The Raikage angrily said, "Comrades, what is the strongest jutsu you are capable of? Whatever it is, use it to your fullest advantage and strike down this tyrant here and now, and let it be known that it was us who took down this tyrant. Let us make a mark here and now." The Raikage himself used his famed technique, Black Lightning, and hit the Susanoo head-on. But Izuna just hit him as though he was rubbing a fly of his clothes and clearly overpowered the third Raikage, who was smashed into the ground by the Raikage. The Raikage then said in disbelief, "Let my life go to hell. Kill this goddamn bastard of a tyrant." When he did so, the other remaining shinobi used the strongest lightning jutsu they could use against Izuna's Susanoo, but it was only strong enough to push him back slightly, and the Raikage went back again with his one-finger strike against Izuna, and this time it didn't even make him move back. This pissed off Izuna. He was originally going to make this slow and go easy on them, but clearly he wouldn't. He uttered, "Wood style, giant wood dragon." Just as he said that, his Susanoo developed a massive wood dragon on the inside and the Susanoo covered it. The Raikage watched it in disbelief. The amount of chakra in the Susanoo had just doubled. The Kumo shinobi thought that they would eventually beat it together. Now all their hopes were shattered. They just stood there watching in disbelief as they knew death was coming for them, and it was coming very soon. The dragon wasn't the usual wood dragon. It was way larger. It had a complete human-like body. There were wooden scales all over the dragon. The dragon itself was brown in color with many different shades of brown to show the texture. It then unfurled its magnificent wings, which suited his Susanoo. The Raikage knew that he had to do something or his men would just forget about the village and start to flee. He manifested his own lightning armor. It was in the most glorious form possible. He said, "My comrades, this is nothing. We shall conquer this tyrant and anyone else Konoha sends at us. Trust me, I shall not let you down." This gave the shinobi some very needed morale boost again. The dragon now flew as high as it could. Then in the front of its mouth an orb was seen. Soon it became bigger. It was very dark. It was almost as black as Izuna's Susanoo. Then they were able to know that it was an orb of the most concentrated chakra ever. Then all of a sudden, a lot of lightning nature just got added into it. Then there was even fire nature in the mix. The Kumo shinobi were now starting to panic. What they felt earlier was nothing. They were starting to doubt themselves and if they should have even come here to wage war, and if they should have retreated long ago when they had the chance. The Raikage was astounded that Izuna could do this, but he knew that he would survive this. He was worried for his men. There was no morale, but only the want to flee and save their lives. The Raikage couldn't do anything but face him head-on. Then his men would at least helm him, and 10,000 shinobi, he believed, could take down this concentrated orb of chakra if they all worked together, unleashing their best. He said, "I am going to take that bomb head-on. You can help and support me if you wish. You can leave if you want. I know I am asking you to go straight into death's hand, but will you follow me into battle this one last time?" The shinobi knew that their Raikage was telling the truth. They were walking straight into death's hands, but that wouldn't change that they were Kumo shinobi, and even if they did die then and there, they would die for their home and their family. Vowed be proud of them. They would not leave their Raikage alone. It would be their honor to fight their last battle alongside the strongest Raikage. They would beat the heck out of this Konoha shinobi, or so they thought. Izuna fired the huge beast bomb, and simultaneously the Raikage flew at it and concentrated chakra he had into this outstretched finger. This might not be enough to save everybody, but it would save most of them and give time to flee if they did not want to support him. Many manifested their strongest jutsu and fired it at the concentrated chakra. The Raikage had made a mistake by fighting Izuna Uchiha. He, along with all the jutsu of the 10,000 of his shinobi and the chakra bomb, collided. The Raikage was killed off, but he managed to reduce the momentum of the chakra bomb. When the chakra bomb hit the ground, the impact sent a shockwave which was strong enough to cause a minor earthquake almost instantaneously in Konoha, which was over 500 miles away from the place where the battle had taken place. A few seconds later the blast reached Konoha. If not for the shields Izuna had placed on Konoha, it would have been obliterated by the huge amount of chakra that came at it. Everything else had been destroyed in the region and for hundreds of miles ahead and almost until the borders of the Fire Nation. Fortunately for Izuna, he had also put a shield on most water bodies, monuments and villages in the Fire Nation, and not many people were hurt by the beast bomb. The terrain had completely changed. Most of the Kumo shinobi and the 1,000 shinobi were killed, and only the best had managed to survive. They were angry at their Raikage having been killed off. Izuna landed on the ground and undid the Susanoo and his wood dragon. One of the remaining Kumo shinobi said, "You will not survive after killing our Raikage, team." At the moment he landed, several lightning jutsu had hit him. Izuna scoffed and said, I find it pathetic that you think that you can beat me. He glanced at the few remaining shinobi and soon they were all burning in Amaterasu. 'Twas sad day in the lives of those Kumo shinobi. A truly sad day. Izuna was later offered the post of Hokage, which even he like his father had declined, due to which Minato became Hokage. A few years later, Izuna had married Kukyoyo Uchiha and had a son who was born with a fully matured 3-Tomoe Sharingan. Because of his fully matured Sharingan at birth, Izuna named his son Naruto Uchiha, Naruto meaning Maelstrom. Naruto Uchiha was born a few days before Minato's son. On the day on which Minato's son, whom he had named Menma, was born, the Kyuubi had escaped from Menma's mother and went on a rampage. The day of the attack of Kyuubi, Menma had just been born, but the Kyuubi had been extracted from his mother, Kushina Uzumaki, by a mysterious masked man right after Menma's birth when the seal was at its weakest. She was very happy to see that her son was alive. Minato and Kushina kissed their son. He had blonde hair and 3 whiskers. He looked very cute. Minato said, "I shall protect you and Menma. I am after all the Yondaime Hokage." Saying so, he put on his Hokage cape and flashed away. There he saw a masked man controlling the Kyuubi. He went to fight him, but he phased into another dimension every time he got attacked. Minato outsmarted him, beat him and also placed a Hiraishin seal on him. He then went along to the village to take care of the Kyuubi. There he met Izuna. Izuna was more or less sweaty. He said, "I get the most peaceful night's sleep in over 2 years, and you spoil it with this. What happened?" Minato explained what happened to Izuna. Izuna sighed in depression. He said, "You call yourself Hokage and let a mysterious masked man near your wife right after your baby's birth. What kind of Hokage lets that happen? Anyway, let's take care of this damned fox." Minato saw the coming by Jodama/tailed beast bomb and said, "Never mind that. We have incoming." Izuna grinned and instantly used up Kamui to send that Baijo Udama into his Kamui time/space, whereas Minato instantly used a teleportation seal to send it to the ocean. A part of it went into the Kamui whereas a part of it hit the ocean. Izuna frowned and said, "It was almost as big as the one I had used against Kumo. How in the hell did my grandfather control this beast?" Minato was surprised and said, "You mean to say, Madara Uchiha could actually control the Kyuubi? I thought that was a myth and that the Kyuubi cooperated." Izuna said, "Yes. He had Tsukiyomi and Amaterasu as his Mangekyo Sharingan abilities. I don't have Tsukiyomi, instead I have Kamui." Saying so, he sighed. Those of his generation with Tsukiyomi weren't strong enough to control the Kyuubi. Minato said, "How I wish you had Tsukiyomi instead of Amaterasu. Kamui is good enough for that, isn't it? Now we need to draw the Kyuubi out of Konoha." Izuna grinned and said, "Agreed. Susanoo." Right as he said that, he manifested a huge Susanoo. Kyuubi got angrier seeing the Susanoo. It reminded him of Madara. Things just got worse for Konoha. Izuna used his own Juudama with extra lightning nature. The Kyuubi was hit with it and it got shot out of the village with ease. Then Izuna came down from the Susanoo which disappeared. Izuna and Minato had driven the Kyuubi out of the village. Minato Hiraishined his son and Kushina to the place. Kushina didn't have enough chakra remaining to become the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi again, so it would have to be Menma who had enough chakra to become the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Izuna couldn't believe it. He asked in rage, "Oi, are you gonna seal the Kyuubi in a child? Have you lost your mind? He is not even a child. He is still a baby. Born a few minutes ago no less." Minato said, "Well, I have no other choice. I can't carry that much chakra sealed inside of me. Neither can you. And thanks to your grandfather, Kyuubi goes nuts at your chakra. If he is sealed inside of you, you won't be able to control him. Besides, the kid has as much as if not more chakra than you." Izuna's face just sulked and he asked in a worried tone, "You do know that upon extraction of the Baijuu, the Jinchuriki shall die? You know Kushina won't survive unless you seal him back into her." Minato said, "She is unable to do that. Why do you think I am sealing it inside Menma instead?" Izuna was still worried. He said, "He is still a baby, Minato. I am here. You are here. Why your son?" Just as he said that, the Kyuubi had recovered from the hit and had come back for a rematch with Izuna and Minato. Minato used the Death Reaper seal and sealed off half of the Kyuubi inside himself. Just then it saw the preparations for the sealing of him inside the baby right over there. Minato used the Death Reaper seal and sealed off half of the Kyuubi inside himself. He said in rage, "Inside of a baby? I shall not be sealed inside a baby." Saying so, the Kyuubi launched its paw at Menma. Just then Minato and Kushina had rushed to Menma's safety and had been stabbed by its claw. Izuna screamed, "No!" His eyes changed from the Mangekyo Sharingan to Rinnegan. He said in the most emotionless creepy voice, "Kyuubi, you shall pay for what you have done." Then he manifested a lightning and fire armor, and on both sides were the Rikudo symbol. He gave off a killing intent far stronger than the Kyuubi. The Kyuubi on the other hand was more than surprised at the Rinnegan. He had never seen anyone with the Rinnegan other than Rikudo Sennin himself. Besides, Rikudo Sennin never got angry. This guy was about to kill him in anger right now. The Kyuubi was afraid, but he would show this descendant of Madara that even the Rinnegan could not defeat him. Just then, Izuna was right above Kyuubi and hit the Kyuubi with a Juudama far stronger than the first one. The Kyuubi was shot down by this. Its claw got out of Minato and Kushina. Izuna brought both of them to Menma, who was crying. Minato and Kushina consoled him and they said their last words to him. Then Minato spoke, "Izuna, take care of the village in my absence. Save as many people as you can. I and Kushina are beyond being saved. Become the Hokage Izuna, and try to see to it that your son and mine become good friends. I don't have much time left. I will seal the Kyuubi/Nine Tails inside Menma along with my essence in case the Kyuubi is completely out of control and Kushina's chakra for when he fights the Kyuubi. I have given the toads the key to the seal and I know that you won't let anything happen to Menma. Take care Izuna. Farewell." Izuna was overwhelmed at what his friend had asked of him and promised that he would not let anything happen to Menma. Soon the Nine Tails was sealed inside of Menma and Minato and Kushina breathed their last breaths. Izuna went to the village and used his wood style to undo all the damage done by the Kyuubi/Nine Tails. Though many people had already lost their lives, he used a lot of chakra of his own to save as many people as he could. Then the Shinobi Council met to decide the next Hokage and Izuna was once more offered the post of Hokage, to which Izuna stood up and said, "I will be the Gondime/5th Hokage. Also, I will adopt Minato's son Menma as I have promised Minato that I would take care of Menma." The Shinobi Council agreed to his conditions and Menma was adopted by Izuna and Kukyoyu and raised along with Naruto Uchiha. Izuna also drove out most of the civilians out of the administration and only those who were very influential civilians held their positions inside the administration. There was also a huge part of the population which held the Uchiha responsible for the attack of the Kyuubi. Thus, while the populace respected Izuna Uchiha as the Hokage, underneath they suspected him of being the mastermind of the attack of the Kyuubi and quite frankly hated all Uchiha, and the Uchiha were completely outcasted from the common populace and Izuna was the only connection between the common populace and the Uchiha. This hatred gave rise to their suspicion that this was Izuna's way of completing his grandfather's job. While he was truly respected by the higher shinobi and his age-old comrades, the others and the civilians still hated him and held him responsible for the attack of the Kyuubi. This hatred of the Uchiha grew and a few of them created a secret organization inside the Uchiha who resented Izuna and the rest of the village, which was practically all the Uchiha except for Izuna's family. 7-year time lapse. Menma Uzumaki and Naruto Uchiha got along just fine, but the two of them were outcasted by the society. Menma because of him containing the Kyuubi and Naruto because his extreme visual prowess which made everyone stay away from him. What Izuna never understood is why Menma always wore orange clothes. He had blonde hair not unlike his father's and his hair was a little spiky. He had a few whiskers on his cheeks. He had extremely blue eyes. He was extremely boisterous and sometimes didn't think properly. He really loved ramen. His love for ramen had developed when he had walked alone on the streets once to go to a place from where an extremely strong aroma of spices and delicious food were coming. The place was Ichiraku Ramen. When he entered Ichiraku's, Tucci had welcomed him. When Menma entered most places people were usually scared of Menma, but it was not the case at Ichiraku's. They even treated him nicely. And boy was the ramen at Ichiraku's delicious. They didn't even ask him too much money for it, unlike most other. From that day on, whenever Kukyoyu allowed him to go outside, he went to Ichiraku's to grab some ramen. Menma also shared his parents' dream of becoming the Hokage. Menma had grown to be a strong young child trained from the beginning by the likes of Izuna Uchiha, and Menma had almost perfect chakra control, thanks to Izuna's training, and that summed up with his huge chakra reserves and the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu/Shadow Clone Jutsu taught by Izuna to him. Menma was on par with Chunin at a young age of 7, but even with all the training Izuna gave him, he still managed to find time to play pranks on people. Izuna sometimes regretted helping Menma with his chakra control, thanks to which he many a times completely humiliated the great stone faces of the 5 Hokage without being caught by any Jonin or Anbu. Man, that boy was the best prankster Izuna had ever seen. Menma had once dyed all he dresses of the Hyuga orange in broad daylight without anybody taking notice, and unfortunately for Izuna, Menma had used a few utenjutsu to dry all the clothes, due to which it took the Hyuga over 5 weeks to get over it, and they were made the laughingstock of the village. And even worse for Izuna, he had to pay for all the damage done to the Hyuga and also had to pay for new clothes for the Hyuga. Boy did Izuna hate Menma's pranks, and yet in a manner Izuna was proud of his adoptive son Menma, who was able to pull off the above-mentioned feat like a true shinobi. But compared to Izuna's son, Menma was weak. Naruto Uchiha was on a completely different level compared to Menma. Izuna had trained Naruto himself, and Naruto Uchiha had manifested the Mangekyou Sharingan, the Choku Tomoe, when his grandfather had been assassinated in front of his eyes as Kumo tried to abduct him. Unfortunately for them, they burnt in Amaterasu. 'Twas another sad day in the history of Kumo, a very sad day in their history. Naruto Uchiha could do the Amaterasu, Kamui, place Genjutsu on people who were extremely resistant to Genjutsu, and finally he could even do a level 1 Susanoo. He could do wood style almost half as well as the first Hokage and had almost perfected Raikkonen Katen. Naruto Uchiha was on par with most Hyjonin. Naruto Uchiha looked a lot like Madara Uchiha. He had spiky black raven hair. He usually wore dark blue robes. He too had a liking for ramen, but not as much as Menma. He was clearly not a prankster like Menma was, and was quite decent. His ideals were similar to those of his father and of Minato. His personality was kind of a mix between Madara Uchiha and Hidehirama Senju. Shisui Uchiha and Itachi Uchiha would also sometimes train Naruto and Menma sometimes. Though Naruto and Menma didn't get along too well with Itachi's younger brother Sasuke, they got along just well with Sasuke's twin sister Mito Uchiha. Naruto would never understand why Sasuke was always so serious, so unlike his elder brother and younger sister. He had black spiky hair, though not half as spiky as Naruto's, and usually wore light blue clothes. He was a prodigy, but not as much as Itachi. He was probably a few levels lesser than Menma and had 100 years to go before reaching Naruto's level. Mito Uchiha was much better than Sasuke. She had a good sense of humor. She was mostly cheerful, rarely ever lost her temper. When she did lose her temper, she was one of the very few persons who ended up scaring Naruto, and Naruto was usually only scared by his parents and entire hordes of ninja which his father had shown him in a genjutsu to retell one of the battles he had fought. Mito usually wore dark red clothes and had short spiky hair. She was a prodigy, better than Itachi, and was much stronger than Sasuke as well as Menma. But she was not even a fifth as strong as Naruto. Though people firmly believed that she would one day be at his level. Mito and Sasuke's mother Mikoto also used to visit them a lot, since Izuna and Mikoto were childhood friends, and Menma's mother Kushina and Naruto's mother Kyokuyu and Mikoto were best friends in their youth. Menma and Naruto treated her just like the way they treated their mother, and she also had a motherly love for Menma and Naruto. Outside the Hyuga compound, one certain Uzumaki walked right past the Hyuga compound when one of the greatest pranks upon the Hyuga clan dawned upon him. His eyes were like that of Master Jiraiya when doing his research. Those moving past him instantly moved back, for they knew that if they tried helping the Hyuga, they would become the laughingstock of the village along with the Hyuga. Once, a shopman had tried to help the Hyuga. He had ridiculously failed, with the Hyuga's condition having gotten worse thanks to him. Nevertheless, the next day Menma pranked him hard. His entire shop had been rolled with toilet paper. Upon that, a good portion of his shop had been painted orange. All his materials had Menma's signature prank ramen, the food of the gods, written in orange, with all the walls having graffiti saying that Menma was the one and only prank god. The shopman was so shocked at the sight, and practically, he had been made the laughingstock of the village for the next few months. Everyone shuddered remembering this. They went as far back as they could. Menma walked right into the Hyuga compound. All the Hyuga were perplexed at the sight of him walking right past. They feared what prank he might play on them today. All of them activated their Byakugan. They sent all the children inside to be kept safe from his Hyuga leader. Hyuga Hiyashi came in front of him. He said, "What have you come here for, you insolent brat?" Menma answered, "Well, to do my most accomplished prank as of yet." The Hyuga clan just got more scared. One part of their mind told them to catch Menma, but the other told them that if they did, the prank would just get worse. Many of them were shuddering in fear. No one knew what to do. All of a sudden, Menma popped and there was nothing. They couldn't believe that they were fooled by his shadow clone. All of a sudden, many Menmas with cans of every color just came down. Menma shadow clones outnumbered the Hyuga clan 3-1. They couldn't believe this. All of a sudden, even more Menma shadow clones appeared. Everyone was scared to the core. Then they said, "For our honor and self-respect, let us take care of this insolent brat." Saying this, they all rushed at the Menma clones and started using 8 trigrams. Yet they failed. Menma succeeded in painting all the Hyuga red, orange, blue and black. The Hyuga could not believe this. Menma had just outsmarted them and beaten their Byakugan. Plus, thanks to the 8 trigrams they just used, all the paint had spread throughout the compound. They were utterly shocked and saw Menma, who was laughing away to glory. Hiyashi asked, Are you done now, insolent brat? Menma said, I am not yet done, Ji-san. This is but the first act. The second act and the climax are yet to come by. Hee. Menma had not only damaged the Hyuga clan property but also he had effectively damaged the pride of the Hyuga by now having beaten their famed Byakugan and 8 trigrams for the 50th time. They were all beyond despair. Only one certain young Hyuga wasn't angry at this but merely impressed. If Menma hadn't been pranking them every time he beat their 8 trigrams, he would be commended as a fine warrior and respected, but due to him always pranking the Hyuga, he was hated by all of them except Hinata, who basically started liking him more every time he beat their 8 trigrams. Then many shadow clones of his came over with many tubs of plain water and some with cement. The Hyuga now just wanted to flee, but Hiyashi was not going to disgrace his clan by fleeing against a child being A-ranked ninjas. He said, my fellow Hyuga clan members, we have nothing to lose now. Let us not disgrace ourselves further by fleeing against this young boy. The Hyuga clan was rallied once again as they faced the Menma clones. They once again used 8 trigrams, this time with rotatio. Unfortunately for them, it had the exact opposite effect they had hoped for. Many of them were now cemented and fixed to a place. Now they truly had nothing to lose. Menma had effectively ridden them of all their pride and self-respect. Now some of them fell down to their knees unable to move. They said, please stop, you insolent brat. You have pranked us enough. Menma said, I am not yet done, Dadabayo. Frankly, many screams could be heard in the Hyuga compound and those outside were so scared they ran away as far as they could. Then instantly, Menma jumped up and many of his clones popped up and a rain of orange paint fell in the pattern which read, Ramen is the food of the gods. Menma then walked out of the Hyuga compound with the smile of a triumphant general who just won a war most gloriously. No Hyuga walked out of the compound until the day of the burial of the Uchiha clan after their massacre. The Hokage Tower. Izuna was in the Hokage's robes. He had recently gotten his hair cut. They were short yet unkempt as usual. He was wearing a plain white dress today unlike his normal black clothes. He was sitting behind the desk and thinking about the Uchiha coup d'etat. The rebellious Uchiha group had planned a coup which was giving Izuna a headache because the demands of the rest of the Uchiha were extremely high, reason being the fact that their clan head was the Hokage and they were one of the founding clans of the village, and yet they were not treated well, and if he agreed to these terms of the Uchiha, the common populace would think that he had planned the coup and he himself ordered them to make high demands and agreed to them so that there wouldn't be a civil war, and then the common populace would rebel against him themselves and Izuna wouldn't have been able to keep his promise to Minato that he would take care of the village. Izuna might have been the greatest prodigy ever from Konoha, but right now he felt he could use the advice of his late parents or his late friend Minato. Just as he was thinking this, a silver-haired Konoha Jonin entered the room with a heckload of paperwork in his hands. He was getting ready to go for a mission. He clearly had 5 of Jiraiya's latest entries to read on the way. His Jonin vest was cleaner than usual. Writer, Kakashi is very lazy even in this story, but unlike in the canon, Kakashi is a cage-level ninja who can beat the Sandaime Hokage without breaking a sweat in this storyline. He is under Izuna because Izuna way more powerful. Izuna is stronger than Kaguya or the Jubei. Naruto eventually becomes way stronger. Izuna had just one question in mind right now, is God trying to kill me? And as though by God's will Kakashi made an eye smile and said yes. Izuna lifted his head up, said, why did you say yes, Kakashi? Kakashi answered, well, I was thinking whether to include Itachiha and Shisui or Might Guy on my next mission and I decided on Guy. Izuna sighed and bent his head again. He said, Kakashi, any info on the Uchiha coup? Kakashi kept the paperwork on Izuna's desk and said, well, they are still on the same standpoint as they were a week ago. Izuna looked at the paperwork in front of his face. He frowned at the huge pile of paperwork. He shifted it and put it below his desk and said, you put that much paperwork on the desk like that, it will break. Anyways, have we tried any more negotiations? Kakashi said, not since they declined you by insulting you in the Uchiha district of the village. Izuna flinched at that remark. He said, what do you think I should do, Kakashi? Kakashi sighed and said, well, in your current position, nothing you do can save the village. Basically, you are neutral but everyone thinks that you are on the side of their enemy. Izuna once again sighed and bent his head and said, you have any ideas on how to save everyone? Kakashi said, I don't. Have you talked to Shikaku Nara? He can probably help you out here. Izuna said, that is something that I can do, but Shikaku is not in the village right now. He won't be back until a few more days, and if we are unfortunate 2 weeks before Shikaku is back in the village, and this is not something that can be resolved easily. The Uchiha are demanding an entire 25% of the village's revenue and for a bigger part of the village to themselves, and they want their image to be elevated in the common people and shinobi alike. I can't possibly agree to these terms and my own clan won't listen to me. I am in a fix right now. I really wish there were others who could do this job for me." Though Kakashi knew all the details, he was still surprised at hearing the 25% of Konoha revenue part. He said, "Well, all we can do is wait. Until we get better options other than letting civil war, or exterminating an entire clan." Izuna said, "I suppose you are right." Kakashi looked at the paperwork and said, "Anyways, you have all this paperwork to take care of till then, and by the way, a bigger shipment of paperwork is coming around in a few hours, and good luck at it, sensei. I have a mission to complete. Bye." After Kakashi left, Izuna said, "Yup, somebody above wants to exact revenge upon me by giving me a death by headache." He sighed upon this and used shadow clones and started digging through the paperwork, hoping that he could at least cause a dent in it by the next hour. Somehow or the other more of it appeared, and it seems the paperwork wanted to kill him. Boy, the pile was huge. Just as he was thinking about this, he saw a huge rain of orange over the Hyuga compound. His jaw dropped to the floor when he saw that. He was sure that he would be penniless by the end of the day. Meanwhile, at the Foundation base in Konoha Forest, Danzo had asked Shisui to come to the base. Danzo was in his usual white kimono and had covered his right arm with bandages so that no one would see the handmade by Hashirama Senju cells embedded with Mangekyo Sharingan, which he could evolve into Rinnegan if he wanted. He was as solemn as ever. No one dared to talk to him. He was cool and patient. He did not even blink as he waited for Shisui. He was going to take Shisui's eyes so that he would be able to keep both Izuna and Hiruzen from killing him by using over 3 Rinnegan and 1 Mangekyo Sharingan. He would be able to survive. He had a few other Foundation members standing guard so that they could help him get Shisui's eyes. A few minutes later, Shisui arrived. He was in his normal uniform. He kneeled and paid his respects to Danzo, almost fully knowing what might happen to him. Danzo opened the bandages covering his right hand and went straight for the eyes of Shisui. Shisui was surprised and barely managed to dodge Danzo, but Danzo struck a huge blow to Shisui using his Hashirama arm, and Shisui for a second was temporarily knocked off balance. At this moment, Danzo managed to acquire one of Shisui's eyes. Shisui had to stop his second eye from being taken by Danzo. He stabbed Danzo in the gut and managed to find himself some time and tried to get out of there, where he would use Amaterasu and obliterate his lost eye in this space, but was attacked by over 10 Foundation shinobi. He had to something. He used Amaterasu and Inferno Control to kill 2 of the shinobi. He wanted to get out of here quickly so that he could come back later with reinforcements such as the likes of Itachi, Izuna-sama and Sandaime-sama. He was limited to the usage of only Amaterasu and Genjutsu. If he kept on using them, he would be as good as dead. Danzo kept his footing and said, "Shisui, your eyes and life are mine. No matter what you do, your eyes will eventually end up in my sockets. I will protect the village no matter what the cost and no matter how dirty the means. I will protect the village." The Uchiha will rebel unless Izuna chooses to pay them what they are demanding, and if Izuna fulfills their demands, the village will rebel against Izuna. Izuna is in a position where he can neither accept nor decline the demands of the Uchiha and cannot protect the village, and a lot of lives will be lost. What do you want, Shisui? Do you want to watch your village burn in the hands of the Uchiha, then the remaining villages, or do you want the village to be wrecked by civil war, then by another great shinobi war? Shisui was unable to answer Danzo's question. He wanted neither. He wanted the Uchiha to back down on their demands and stop their coup, but he couldn't. Danzo did have a point. The Gondam Hokage was not in a position as of now. Just when Shisui was thinking of this, Danzo charged at Shisui with such blinding speed and once again hit Shisui and went directly for his eye. Shisui barely stopped Danzo from taking his remaining eye. He jumped as far back as he could. Danzo screamed at him, "Tell me your answer, Shisui, tell me." Shisui was already occupied and had another demon wind shuriken at him, which he barely dodged, but this time it managed to injure his hand badly. Shisui had to buy himself some more time, so he figured taking this talk further would both allow him to gain more chakra, think of some strategy and get to know what Danzo wanted to do. So he said, "What is your answer to this question, Danzo?" Danzo was not expecting this but was prepared for it anyway. He started moving towards Shisui. He had thought that Shisui wouldn't be able to escape alive and said, "Shisui, which is more important to you, your village or your clan?" Shisui needed a little more time, and this conversation would give him a little more than just time, and he said, "The village, of course." He then backed a little to escape Danzo. Danzo had expected the answer and said, "Then you know that I cannot let the village be struck by civil war by any means. The village is more important to me than the Uchiha." Had Minato still been alive, this situation would be much different, but no, Izuna is the current Hokage, and though he might be much better and have more guts than Minato himself, since the attack of the Kyuubi, his image among the villagers has drastically worsened. Thus, we either change the Hokage, which is not possible, so My answer is to exterminate the Uchiha. Shisui could not say that he hadn't been expecting this answer, for a part of him also knew that it was the only choice acceptable between the current choices of the Hokage. But still he didn't like to see his clan destroyed. There had to be another solution. He spoke, "Is that all you can do? There is always a way to save everybody." Danzo was not surprised by his answer. He and the other shinobi in the area used wood style against him to bind him. Though Shisui was surprised at the usage of wood style, he had trained enough with Izuna to know that wood style was extremely weak against fire style, and Shisui used Amaterasu against the wood style user, who was pushed back by this, and taking advantage of Shisui being occupied, Danzo struck him with a lot of force and Shisui was pushed back completely. Danzo said, "There would have been a way to save everybody if the Hokage were anybody except Izuna right now. The civilians completely despise him because he pushed them out of the administration and took huge taxes from them, and upon that the civilians hold him responsible for the attack of the Nine Tails on the village. Right now, with Izuna as Hokage, there is no other way but to exterminate the Uchiha, and your eyes are extremely important to me if I am to succeed." Shisui had used this time to gain some chakra and said, "Danzo, you shall never succeed." Saying so, he jumped and used a fire style, Great Fireball Jutsu on Danzo and the wood style user and got out. Since he didn't have a lot of chakra remaining and had lost an eye, he couldn't use the Susanoo to carry out his original plan of killing Danzo using Susanoo, and decided to rather give his other eye to Itachi to take care of it and end his life, since he was already injured and exhausted by fighting Danzo. He sent a message to Itachi to come meet him in the final valley and left for the place himself. A few hours later at the final valley, Shisui was waiting for Itachi. He had sent a message to Itachi to come there as he had something to give to Itachi. He was in a lot of pain. He was bleeding all over. Though he had only one injury made him bleed originally, Danzo's attacks had made him bleed internally and he was coughing blood already. He was contemplating whether what Danzo was doing right or wrong. Danzo was doing what was right to save the village and all of Shinobi from another great war. But there had to be another way to go about it other than exterminating all Uchiha. At least Shisui thought so. Even Izuna was not sure if there was any other viable option other than that, yet he was searching for another answer. While thoughts about his previous conversation with Danzo were going on in Shisui's mind, Itachi arrived. He was in Anbu uniform. He had probably just arrived from one. He was fresh. But upon seeing Shisui, he was more surprised than ever and instantly went to help Shioi. Upon reaching Shisui, he noticed that Shisui had an eye missing. Itachi asked in anguish, "What happened to you? I don't know many people who can do this to you. Who did it?" Shisui said, "Itachi, Danzo took one of my eyes and I am going to give the other one to you. There is a genjutsu embedded in it. When the Mangekyo Sharingan is activated, it will put a genjutsu on the observer which will make him want to do good for Konohage Core. Though if used once, it will take about a decade to recharge, so use it wisely, old friend." Itachi had tears in his eyes. He said, "But why? Why are you giving this eye to me?" Danzo said that the only way of stopping the Uchiha coup is by exterminating them. "So I want you to keep this in case Sasuke, Mito, or Naruto turn against Konoha." "What?" Shisui showed everything he had just been through a few hours ago to Itachi and then said, "Danzo will most likely trust you with the job of exterminating the Uchiha, since you are the second strongest Uchiha in the village and the strongest is the Hokage. Don't consider me. I won't live for long after now. Only a few minutes at best. Keep this eye safe and away from Danzo. He will come for it. Goodbye, old friend." Saying so, Shisui collapsed and fell down from the head of the statue of the first Hokage. Itachi knew that in the current circumstances, Danzo's method was the most viable answer. Itachi fell on his knees and screamed his heart out. He mourned the death of his friend Shisui. Though a question remained in his mind. The only explanation Itachi could make out of what had happened just now was that Shisui agreed with Danzo. The only way out the current situation was to exterminate the Uchiha. Itachi also understood the situation perfectly. So he said to himself, "I will not let you down, Shisui." Itachi just manifested his Mangekyo Sharingan. He was not going to let his friend down at any cost. 7 days later, at a foundation base, deep in Konoha Forest, Danzo was angry at his failure to get both of Shisui's eyes. He was wearing a white kimono as usual and had bandaged his arm again. He had also bandaged the right eye where he had placed Shisui's eye. He had a gleam of pride and solemnness in his face. He knew that he couldn't get the eye now. He had to do with just one. He could work fine. He had ordered Itachi to come. He would order Itachi to massacre all the Uchiha except the Hokage when everyone was asleep. The Hokage rarely went home, so it wouldn't be a problem to massacre his family as well. There shouldn't be any one of the Uchiha except the Hokage alive. Just as he was thinking this, Itachi had arrived. Itachi looked as solemn as Danzo, and he had just the slightest glint of anger in his eyes which Danzo failed to notice as he was bowing down. Danzo spoke, "Itachi, I have a very important task at hand for you. You might find it bad and hard, but it is for the well-being of the village. I hope you shall at least understand." Itachi knew very well what the mission was going to be. He rose. His face was more emotionless than ever. He said, "I am ready to do anything for the village." Danzo was happy. He had probably hoping for this to be harder to convince Itachi. He smiled and said, "I am sure that you are aware of the current situation of the Uchiha coup and of all the details since you are the informant for both sides. I want you to exterminate the Uchiha. You already know of the coup your clan is planning. Better me. The Hokage is in a situation where he cannot do anything without causing a civil war right now. I think you understand." "Yes, sir. I understand. I shall be taking my leave. The Uchiha will be exterminated this night." Danzo was more surprised than ever. He hadn't been expecting it to be so quick, but Itachi was a shinobi completely devoted to Konoha. An hour later, in a cave in Konoha forest, Itachi came here to meet a person who claimed he was Madara Uchiha, whom he had been tracking for a few months now. That person was standing right in front of him. He had mask over his face with a single hole revealing his eye, which was a Mangekyo sharingan. Itachi wasn't surprised. He just stood there. He was in the Anbu uniform. He gave him a creepy vibe. He spoke, "You are not Madara Uchiha." Madara Uchiha had the Choku Tomoe Mangekyo unlike yours. Besides, I know that Madara's chakra is similar to the Hokage's. It is nothing like yours. The person claiming to be Madara spoke, "Madara Uchiha is not a person, rather an idea. I am the successor of that idea, and thus, I am Madara Uchiha. His descendants are a disgrace to his name, and his ideas have been passed on to me." It was a proclamation. He was confident in his voice. Itachi was still emotionless and more stern than before. He said, "Whatever, I need your help to exterminate the Uchiha clan, Madara too." Madara too slightly laughed and said, "I will be extremely happy to help you out." Itachi then said with sureness in his voice, "We exterminate the clan tonight. Be there. I need your help. I might be a strong ninja, but even I can't exterminate the entire Uchiha clan by myself." Madara too said in confident voice, "I already told you, I will be glad to help." Meanwhile in Konoha, 3 days ago, Naruto had received the news that Shisui had disappeared. Many people presumed he was dead. Naruto had really hoped that Shisui was still alive. But the blow came to him when his father Izuna had told him, "Shisui is dead." Naruto had been extremely close to Shisui. He had been an elder brother to him. Naruto had thought that Shisui would always be with him as an elder brother. This was a huge blow to Naruto. Even more so to Mito, who had been even closer to Shisui. They were all mourning for him. Shisui's body was never found, and they could never have a proper funeral for Shisui. The day of the Uchiha massacre, Naruto had gotten over the death of Shisui, and so had Mito. Sasuke, Naruto, Menma and Mito were training near the Uchiha shrine. Naruto was wearing a dark blue robe. It had a fan on the back which was divided into 2 halves, the top half in red color and the bottom half in white. This was the Uchiha clan symbol. He was training to improve his lighting style. His father along with Kakashi had taught him the Chidori/lightning blade and had told him that a lightning armor of similar kind could be created, making one completely impenetrable. This kind of armor was stronger than the armors which Kumo shinobi used. This armor was much brighter and much louder. Naruto was trying to do this, and it wasn't easy. It required huge amounts of chakra. Kakashi couldn't even do it because he didn't have enough chakra for it. Mito was training her great fireball jutsu. It was almost a tenth of Itachi's. That was big. Itachi's great fireball at its best could level the entire Uchiha district. She was wearing a red dress with the Uchiha clan symbol on the back. Menma was training this new jutsu Izuna had taught him. He called it the Rasengan. It was jutsu invented by the fourth. Menma had seen it being done for the first time a few hours ago, and he almost had it down. He really thanked Izuna for helping him with chakra control. If he didn't have it, then he would have taken much more time to complete it. He was again clad orange with a spiraling circle on the back. He was wearing the goggles of Obito, Minato's late student and Kakashi's friend. Sasuke was in a completely different part of the forest. He was closer to the Uchiha compound than the others. He was also training his great fireball, though it was barely half the size of Mito's. He was wearing a light blue shirt with the Uchiha clan symbol on the back and was wearing white shorts. He had to get to his sister's level soon, else his father would keep on ignoring him. Soon the others came to him. He greeted them. He said, "Let's grab some dango and go home." Menma was frustrated at this and said, "Nope, we go to Ichiraku ramen before going home instead. Ramen is so much better than dango." Mito said, Only a few agree with you, Menma. Though Naruto might like ramen more than dango, I prefer dango to ramen. Naruto said, you know what? As the eldest of us, I say let's go grab some ramen. Mito said, I seriously disagree with you. You are just a few days older than us. Why should we obey you? Just as she finished her question, they heard screams from the Uchiha clan compound. Hearing it, Naruto said, let's just go home and see what is happening instead. Everyone agreed and they all went directly to the clan compound. Inside Uchiha compound, Konohagakure. What they saw when they reached the Uchiha clan compound was horrific. There were dead people all around. Naruto went directly to his home just to see it burnt to the ground without anybody in it. He was extremely angry. Who would do this? Where was his mother? What was his father doing? Just as he thought about his father, Izuna came in front of the house. He was shivering. He screamed, no, and fell to his knees crying. Naruto asked his father why he was crying and where his mother was. Izuna didn't answer his question. Naruto didn't need to know. Izuna would tell him when the time came. Menma just came. He didn't know what had happened either. He didn't need to know what had happened. Izuna asked Naruto and Menma to go help Sasuke and Mito. Izuna had sensed that Kukyoyu's chakra had stopped. He wanted to make sure that he was wrong, and even if he was right he would use Rin Rebirth to bring her back to life, but her body wasn't to be found, even her ashes. She was burnt using Amaterasu. He wanted to kill the person who had done this to his wife. Meanwhile, Naruto and Menma reached Sasuke and Mito, who were crying over the bodies of their parents. Naruto understood why, and he also sort of understood why his father was crying. Menma also understood everything now. He might have been an idiot at times, but he understood this kind of stuff, most of the times. Itachi just showed up right over there and said to the four of them, I see you have seen the bodies of my parents, Sasuke, Mito, Naruto, Menma. In case you don't know, I was the one who killed Shisui. Let me show you how. Saying so, Itachi used a Jinjutsu to show how he had killed off Shisui in a horrific and inhumane manner after taking out Shisui's eyes, in hopes that they would evolve their eyes. Then said, hate me all you want, and when you are of my level and have the same eyes as me, come try to kill me. Naruto was infuriated at this. He asked, were you the one to kill my mother? In a way that made a part of Itachi creep out. Itachi said, don't even get me started on that. Yes, it was me who killed your mother. Try to kill me if you can, and laughed. Naruto clearly lost his temper. Itachi saw his eyes. They weren't the Chokuto Mangekyo Sharingan, they were the Rinnegan. He had succeeded in making at least one of his siblings/pseudo-siblings better than what they were. Naruto straight away had a bright blue lightning armor and bright orange fire armor enveloping him. He had the Rikudo/Six Paths symbol on both sides now. He was now a sage of six paths with his Rinnegan and current prowess. All of a sudden Itachi was being stabbed by Naruto. Naruto had teleported directly to Itachi. Itachi needed to save himself. He used his crow's gut away from there. Naruto could not control his anger and his chakra blasted all of a sudden, but fortunately didn't cause any damage because of the shields that Izuna had put up. This blast injured all the four of them, and the genjutsu which Itachi had used had its after effects as well. Izuna came straight away. He took Naruto, Menma, Mito and Sasuke to Konoha Hospital. A few hours later, a root base, deep in Konoha Forest. After taking the kids to the hospital, Izuna and the Sun Daime were going to the root base to kill Danzo. Despite the fact that his intentions were to protect the village, this was not the way to go about it. Izuna had planned on beating the members of the coup to a pulp if they did not stop the coup, but Danzo had already killed the clan. There were other ways. There were always other ways to protect the village. Izuna wanted to kill Danzo right away. He and the Sun Daime reached the root base soon. Danzo had been waiting for them. If all went well and he got his way, he would still have a say in many important matters of the village. Izuna said, Danzo, if you surrender now, I won't kill you. Danzo had been closing his eyes. Izuna didn't know why, but knowing Danzo, he was probably up to no good. Danzo laughed and said, and what if I don't surrender? Izuna was extremely angry. He said, if you don't surrender, I will kill you. Danzo said, let me see you try, grandson of Madara Uchiha. Saying so, Danzo opened his eyes. Izuna was enraged upon seeing Danzo's eyes. They had the Rinnegan. He also had many sharingan embedded in his right hand, which was composed of the cells of Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage. Izuna said, I am so going to kill you, you bloody thief. Danzo said, oh, I am a bloody thief now. He laughed a little. His tone changed. He said in a stern manner, tell me, how was it that your grandfather got the Rinnegan, Izuna, tell me. Izuna got even more angry. Danzo laughed and said, he got the Rinnegan by thievery bloodier than what I have done. Izuna just kept on getting angrier. He said in an extremely angry voice, "Oh, so now you know how my grandfather got the Rinnegan, huh? Well, let me tell you one thing, he was 100 times the man you are right now and you have no right of telling that he was a thief. You will die the most painful death ever." The Sandaime, as though he was pitying Danzo, said, "No, Izuna. Danzo deserves a second chance. Though his methods were wrong, his intentions were noble. All he did was protect the village. Instead of killing him, disband his foundation, the Rudanbu. That is a better choice. Trust me, Izuna." Danzo laughed loud. Izuna heard the laughter of success in Danzo's laugh. It was clear to Izuna that Danzo had placed the Sandaime in a genjutsu. Izuna scowled in anger and said, "You have gone too far, Danzo. I will give you the most painful death you can imagine." Saying so, Izuna manifested a bright blue lightning armor around himself, then a stronger bright yellow fire armor with it. The Sandaime immediately came in front of Izuna, blocking him and said, "Stop. It is for the betterment of the village that Danzo should survive." Izuna said, "Looks like I will have to deal with you first, Sandaime-sama. Forgive me for this." Saying so, Izuna used Limbo Jailer to restrict the Sandaime Hokage. Danzo was extremely scared at what he was seeing. Izuna was using Limbo, something Danzo could not do, to remove the genjutsu from the Sandaime's mind. Danzo knew that he was no match for both of them put together. He teleported as far as he could. Thanks to all the cloaking seals he had placed on himself, even Izuna would be unable to track him. He would stay in the shadows until the time arrived for him to resurface. That was the right thing to do according to him. Meanwhile, Izuna removed the genjutsu from the Sandaime and noticed that Danzo was nowhere in sight. He infused chakra, but he could not sense Danzo anywhere. Izuna screamed in anger and frustration. He was extremely angry because he could not get Danzo. He swore to himself that he would kill Danzo the instant Danzo was in range. Saruto had come to his senses. He said, "I am truly sorry, Izuna, because I was unable to keep away Danzo's genjutsu. We missed the chance to kill him. I hope you will be able to forgive me." Izuna said, "It was not your fault, Hokage-sama. I won't spare Danzo the next time." Saying so, the two left and headed back for Konoha Hospital. The next day, Itachi had transformed into one of the doctors in Konoha Hospital and come visited Izuna. He said in a sorry tone, "I didn't kill Kyokyuya-sama." Izuna answered sadly, "I know. You took the help of another person. Calls himself Madara Uchiha, I believe." What he didn't tell Itachi was that she had burned herself. She had cancer for a while now, and while he had expected her eventual death, this tipped him over and caused him to awaken a higher version of the Rinnegan, which he liked to call the Mangekyo Rinnegan, and it gave him the ability to travel through time. Itachi became emotionless again and said, "Yes, Hokage-sama." Izuna asked in a very serious tone, "Did you see anything about him? Did you recognize his chakra signature?" Itachi answered, "No, but he did have the same Mangekyo sharingan as Kakashi." Izuna said, "Do you know how to contact him?" Itachi answered, "No. I just happened to see his Mangekyo. Asked him who he was and he told he was Madara Uchiha. I just followed him ever since. He is extremely hard to track. The day I asked him for help, I just happened to recognize his chakra. Went and asked his help. He offered it. I took it." Izuna said, "His chakra signature reminded me of one of Minato's deceased students, Obito. He was the one who caused the attack of the Kyuubi on Konoha. Anyways, I have a job for you. As of now, because of what you did, you will be considered a criminal by most of the people, but for the higher-ups you are a spy for Konoha. You shall join the mercenary group Akatsuki and give us all the information you have gained from them. I took care of Danzo, tried to use genjutsu on me. Had the Rinnegan in Shisui's eye. He managed to escape, but as of now, he is an SS-class criminal throughout every nation. I shall take care of Sasuke and Mito. You need not worry about them." As for Naruto and Menma, what kind of a father lets his children be in trouble? Itachi said, "Fine, Hokage-sama. How are we to communicate?" Hearing this, Izuna tapped his index and middle finger of his right hand on Itachi's forehead and said, "Now a telepathic link has been created between me and you. It can be opened whenever we want. I will know if you have opened your end and you will know if I have opened my end. This way we can communicate. Now take your leave." Itachi said, "Thank you, Hokage-sama," and left. Sometime later, Naruto, Menma, Sasuke, and Mito woke up. Mito had manifested her Mangekyo Sharingan. Sasuke had still not manifested any form of eye. Naruto woke up and first thing he asked Izuna was, "Did you kill Itachi?" Izuna answered, "Well, not yet. Itachi managed to escape. He is most probably in a completely different part of the nation now. I have lost enough of my people today. I can't afford to lose more. We can send a search party after him later." First we need to have a funeral for all the dead and pray for their peace. Konoha Hospital, a few days after the Uchiha massacre. Izuna told Naruto that they would soon have the funeral for all the dead Uchiha. Izuna felt bad for them. There was probably a way by which even the Uchiha could have been saved. If there was, Izuna hadn't seen it. Izuna wasn't wearing his usual clothes, the Hokage's cape with a black Uchiha robe and the Hokage's hat. Instead he was clad black since the funeral for the Uchiha clan was to be held that day. Naruto just woke up. Naruto was also clad black for the funeral which was going to be held that day. He had the Uchiha clan symbol on the back. Mito and Menma had just woken up. The two of them were also clad black. They were not their usual cheerful selves. They were very sad. Mito had manifested a Choku Tomoe Mangekyo Sharingan on the night of the Uchiha massacre. Izuna was sure of it. This he would confirm in a training session before the academy started. As for Menma, Izuna feared that the Kyuubi and he might have had another match if not for Naruto having stabbed Itachi. Sasuke had not yet even manifested his Sharingan. Izuna couldn't blame Sasuke for it. The kid was always compared to his siblings and peers and had a lot of pressure put on him by his father who almost ignored him. Sasuke always wanted to prove himself but not once had he gotten his father's attention. Though his father had loved Sasuke the most, Sasuke didn't know that. He had always thought that his father had loved him the least. Sasuke didn't have the chance to manifest his Sharingan. Hopefully he would manifest it in the near future. The Uchiha funeral, Konoha Cemetery. Most people there were in tears. They had lost many friends. Izuna wasn't crying but he was clearly sad. Naruto, Menma, Mito and Sasuke were in tears as well. They were all mourning for their dead friends and family. The same day, in Mito's room, she had changed her clothes. She was wearing a dark blue dress with the Uchiha clan symbol on the back. Her hair didn't have its usual spiky nature that day. When she went inside, she saw a scroll written to her. It said, "For Mito." She didn't know what to do. She just opened it. It was written in Itachi's hand. It said, "Mito, if you are reading this, the rest of clan excluding Izuna-sama, Sasuke and Naruto is dead. In case you have manifested your Mangekyo Sharingan, ask Naruto or Izuna-sama or Kakashi-senpai for some help. Go to the Uchiha shrine. It contains a lot of information on it. You will never be able to reach my level, no matter how hard you try, so you can say goodbye to your revenge. This scroll is just my way of laughing at you." Mito was infuriated and used the Mangekyo Sharingan to see if there were any more insults hidden in genjutsu, but she just found a face of Itachi laughing. She just burnt the scroll and left it to rot. She wanted to kill Itachi but she needed to become much stronger for that. She wanted to become much stronger. She thought of approaching Naruto before approaching Izuna-sama. Izuna's house, Uchiha compound, Konohagakure. Izuna had rebuilt the house. He made Kyokyu's room just as it had been before the massacre. He needed to train Naruto right now. That was his top priority. The academy would start soon. He never knew why the standards at the academy had fallen so low. Most Chunin of today would probably not pass the examinations during his time. Most Chunin of now would barely be able to beat Chunin of his time. Upon that, the academy took a lot of one's time without actually teaching them anything. He had tried many times to raise standards for the academy. Not most people had denied him by telling, "We live in an era of peace. Why should we make our children work so hard when they don't have to?" He had hated this attitude of people. The only people who could even understand him were the clan leaders and the higher Jonin. He would really like it if everyone thought the same way as he. He had changed his clothes. He had his usual unkempt spiky hair, not unlike Madara's, but it was much shorter. He was wearing a black armor-like Jonin vest with the Uchiha clan symbol and the Uzumaki clan symbol, a spiraling circle on the back. Above that he wore the Hokage's cape. Naruto just walked inside the room. He was with Mito. Mito had just told Naruto about the scroll Itachi had left her. Naruto had also been infuriated by Itachi and had come to his father to train him. Naruto had also gotten himself a change of clothes. He was wearing a black robe with the Uchiha clan symbol on the back. His hair was spikier than usual and he was much more serious than his usual self. Naruto came in front of Izuna and said, "Tosan, I want you to train me." Mito also added, "Hokage-sama, I too want to train under you." Izuna thought to himself, "Took them long enough." He saw Naruto's Rinnegan and said, "I shall train the two of you but separately. I can only train you until academy starts. From then on, you have to train yourselves. We have a month before academy starts. I shall start training the two of you from tomorrow. Be there in training ground 3. Early morning at 6 a.m. Mito and Naruto said together, "Yes," and then left. Izuna was looking forward for the next day. He would get to test their abilities to the fullest. Hopefully they would be strong. Just as he was thinking this, Sasuke and Menma came inside. Sasuke was wearing his usual bright blue shirt with white trousers and Naruto was clad orange as usual. They asked, "Can you train us, Hokage-sama?" Izuna knew not why Menma called him Hokage. Menma never called Izuna Hokage, anyways he would like to train them. He said, "Fine, I shall train the two of you. Tomorrow at 6 a.m. in the morning in training ground 3. Be there." They said together, "Hi, Hokage-sama," and left the room. Izuna sensed rivalry among the two of them. He knew that this rivalry of theirs would get them far. The next day, training ground 3. Izuna arrived there at 5:45 a.m. He knew that they would already be there because he had sensed their chakra in the training ground. They were all here since 5:30 a.m. They had been waiting for the past few minutes. Izuna did the hand sign for Kage Bunshin no Jutsu/Shadow Clone Jutsu and 3 shadow clones of Izuna popped up. They all had equal amounts of chakra. Izuna said, "We have 4 weeks to train before academy starts. I can't train you after the academy starts. I will practically be in paperwork hell after that. For the first 3 weeks, you shall be training separately but, for the last week, the 4 of you shall come at me together to increase your teamwork. Understand this, I shall not let any of you become Jonin if you are egotistical and prefer to work all alone." Naruto and the others accepted Izuna's condition. Naruto was wearing black robes again with the Uchiha symbol on the back. His hair had its usual spikiness. Mito was wearing bright red clothes with the Uchiha clan symbol on the back. She was much more cheerful than the previous day and her hair was much spikier. Sasuke was wearing a black shirt with the Uchiha clan symbol on the back and white trousers and Naruto was clad orange as usual and had the Uzumaki clan symbol on the back. Then the real Izuna went to Naruto and the two of them teleported to the Forest of Death or Training Ground 44. 2 shadow clones of Izuna went to Sasuke and Menma and teleported along with them to Training Ground 0. The remaining shadow clone of Izuna told Mito, "We shall be training right over here." Training Ground 44/the Forest of Death. Naruto was surprised at the sudden change of location. He asked, "Where are we, To-san?" Izuna grinned and answered, "This is Training Ground 44, also known as the Forest of Death. Right now, we are the only people in here but there are many beasts which can take your life if you are not careful in here. Now you have manifested the Rinnegan. Do you know what it can do?" Naruto did not know what his father was talking about. He excitedly asked, "What is the Rinnegan?" Izuna wasn't surprised that Naruto did not know. After all, the Rinnegan was only possessed by 3 people alive, Izuna, Tajima and now Naruto and many people did not even know what it was. Izuna had not expected Naruto to know the answer and asked him, "What do you see when you see in my eyes?" Naruto lost his enthusiasm at such a question. He answered, "A white eye with 6 concentric circles and 3 tomoe in every alternate circle. I suppose it is an enhanced version of the sharingan." Izuna smiled and said, "You are not completely of the mark but you are still wrong about my eye being an enhanced version of the sharingan. Let me ask you another question. Have you seen your own eyes in the mirror since the massacre of the Uchiha?" Naruto just got let down. He thought he would get to learn this Rinnegan thing but his father was giving him a lecture. He answered, "No. I neither had time nor any patience to do that." Izuna sighed and asked, "Are you facing any problems with concentration right now?" Naruto was surprised. He then felt it was to be expected as Izuna was a genius and had a great sense of the world around him. He answered, "Yes. Ever since the massacre of our clan, I have been receiving too much input from my senses. I haven't been able to concentrate on one thing due to that." Izuna switched to a tone of a teacher and asked, "Do you know why you are receiving too much input from your senses lately?" Naruto didn't know why his father was asking him such questions today. He answered, "No. I don't know why I am receiving so much input." Izuna smiled said, "Well, that is because your eyes are the same as mine." Naruto wasn't expecting that answer. His eyes were the same as his father's. He couldn't even imagine such a thing. He thought that he wouldn't reach his father's level at least for a decade or so but his father was implying that he already had. Then Izuna laughingly said, "Now, don't jump to any conclusions that you are as strong as me or even close to as strong as me. You have 100 years to go before you are as strong as me." Naruto was kind of feeling guilty and sad because he had jumped to the conclusion that he could rival his father. Then he said, "Well, To-san, is this the Rinnegan?" Izuna was certainly happy that his son had landed on the right conclusion. He said, "Yes, it is the Rinnegan but do you know what it is?" Naruto slightly regained his enthusiasm and answered, "The best conclusion I can land at is that it is an enhancement of the sharingan." Izuna kept his smile on his face and said, "It isn't entirely wrong. After the Mangekyou Sharingan comes the Rinnegan. But one with only Uchiha powers such as Mito or Sasuke cannot manifest the Rinnegan. Those with only Senju powers, like Menma can also not manifest the Rinnegan. Only one with both Uchiha and Senju powers can manifest the Rinnegan. The two of us and your grandfather Tajima Uchiha had both Uchiha and Senju powers from birth, allowing us to manifest the Rinnegan. The reason why the two of us and my father who are Uchiha have Senju powers is complicated, but these Senju powers also allow us to use Makuten/wood style. Now, do you know the extent of the powers of the Rinnegan? Naruto said in an excited tone. No. I don't yet know the full prowess of the Rinnegan. He had hoped that this would make his father want to teach him the jutsu which the Rinnegan let you use. Izuna said, pride etched in his voice. You can sense the chakra of everybody using your Rinnegan. You can also teleport yourself or someone else using the Rinnegan. It increases your strength by a lot and allows you to have better chakra control. You can also absorb someone else's chakra using the Rinnegan. You can absorb jutsu using the Rinnegan, and you can also release the absorbed jutsu in a stronger manner using the Rinnegan. This also allows you to potentially copy Kekkei Genkai by absorbing them and reusing them. Naruto was astounded at hearing this. You could potentially copy Kekkei Genkai using the Rinnegan. It was like Ninjutsu New Year for him, and he had gotten a lot of ninjutsu as presents from his father. Izuna added, that is not all. You can dissect chakra into smaller pieces and combine chakra into bigger pieces. You can push and pull anything or anyone using immeasurable force. You can put almost anyone in a genjutsu. You can create huge heavenly objects using the Rinnegan as well. The first person to have manifested the Rinnegan, Hagoromo Otsutsuki, also known as Rikudo Sennin/Sage of Six Paths, is said to have created the moon using the powers of his Rinnegan. Naruto's mind was clearly blown by the huge range of powers the Rinnegan. He wanted to skip through the lecture his father was putting him through and wanted to start learning to put the use of Rinnegan. He wanted to be the strongest user of the Rinnegan to have ever lived. Izuna further added, you should be careful with the Rinnegan. You should not go around announcing your powers to everyone. I shall only train you to use the Rinnegan if you promise that you shall use its powers only when you need to save someone close to yourself or when you have no other option. Naruto was getting excited. He knew that he shouldn't show off his powers to others. He told his father, I promise to use the Rinnegan when I have no other option at my hand. Can we start training now? Izuna said, agreed. But first you need to work on your basic Kamui, Amaterasu, Susanoo and your chakra armor. Naruto was clearly not happy at this. He wanted to learn to use his Rinnegan, but his father wanted him to first perfect his Mangekyo Sharingan abilities. He understood why, but he really wanted to master his Rinnegan. This blew away all his excitement and enthusiasm down the drain. Izuna looked at Naruto's sadish face and said, though your level 3 Susanoo more than enough for your age, your Kamui, Amaterasu and chakra armor can use a little more practice. Now we shall practice these 3 over the first week, then we can start on your abilities with the Rinnegan. Today and tomorrow we shall concentrate on your Kamui. Naruto was happy that he could practice his Rinnegan abilities for 2 weeks in which his father would train him separately. All of a sudden a few kunai came lashing out at him. He did the only thing that came to his mind. Used Kamui on all of them, and thankfully he had succeeded. He saw Izuna grin. He made a mental note to himself, be all the more alert when To-san grins in the middle of a training session. Else, you will find yourself dead in the next second. While he made the mental note, about 100 or more kunai just came at him. He tried his best not to die. Meanwhile, in training ground 3, Shadow Clone Izuna smiled and told Mito, I shall train you right over here. Before that, manifest your Mangekyo Sharingan. But be wary. If you use your Mangekyo Sharingan too much, you'll go blind and you will have to transplant the eyes of someone who is close to you by blood who has also manifested their Mangekyo if you want to keep your vision intact. This is called the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Mito was aware of her Mangekyo Sharingan, though she was perplexed about the fact that she would go blind if she overused the Mangekyo, and she had to take the eyes of a close blood relative if she wanted to keep her vision intact. She had felt her Mangekyo the day of the Uchiha massacre. She immediately did as she was told. Her Mangekyo was the same as his grandfather's before he had attained the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Shadow Clone Izuna sternly told her, try to cast Tsukuyomi on me. Mito did as she was told. She channeled chakra into her eyes. She tried to use Tsukuyomi. Itachi had done it many times. She tried hard, but she was completely unable to use it. Shadow Clone Izuna understood that Tsukuyomi was not one of Mito's Mangekyo's abilities. He told her, I don't think Tsukuyomi is one of your abilities. Thus, I think Amaterasu and Kamui are the abilities of your Mangekyo Sharingan. Try to send this kunai into your Kamui time-space. Concentrate on sending this kunai into a Kamui time-space. Saying so, he took a kunai and placed it on the ground. He observed it carefully for results. Mito once again channeled her chakra into her eyes and tried to make the kunai go to another dimension. A small swirl began in the position of the kunai. It was working. The kunai was starting to go to another dimension. But the swirl stopped and only a small part of the kunai had gone to another dimension. She got sad at the fact that her Kamui didn't work perfectly. Shadow Clone Izuna looked at her face and said, "Don't worry. You did your first time better than Naruto. He wasn't even able to break the kunai in his first go. Though now, he can probably send a moving kunai into his Kamui time-space and break a huge tree into half like you just broke the kunai into two parts. You will also reach that level soon." Mito was actually celebrating at the fact that she was able to do Kamui better than Naruto at least. Her first go was supposedly better than Naruto's. Shadow Clone Izuna said, "This week, we shall concentrate on your Kamui." Mito was excited to increase the extent of her Kamui. Meanwhile in Training Ground Zero, Menma and Sasuke were brought here by two shadow clones of Izuna. One of them took Sasuke to one part of Training Ground Zero and the other shadow clone took Menma to another part of Training Ground Zero. The part of Training Ground Zero to which a shadow clone Izuna took Menma. Shadow Clone Izuna asked Menma, "What do you know about shadow clones except for the fact that they take a lot of chakra?" Menma casually said, "I don't know. Why would I know?" As though it was unnecessary to him. Izuna hadn't been expecting anything else from Menma. He said, "Do you receive memories from your shadow clones when you use them?" Menma was surprised. He said, "I do not remember anything of that sort." Shadow Clone Izuna made another shadow clone and called it Shadow Clone Izuna 2 and asked Menma to make his own shadow clone. Menma made one. Shadow Clone Izuna 2 and Shadow Clone Menma went to a place where the original Menma couldn't hear them. They made a bet which Menma won and then dispelled. Once they dispelled, Menma jumped in happiness when he got to know that Izuna would later get him ramen at Ichiraku Ramen. Shadow Clone Izuna didn't care about it for he knew this was inevitable as Menma would have clearly asked for Ichiraku Ramen while going home. Then Izuna said, "You see, there is a memory relay system in Shadow Clones. You know how to use them perfectly and keep them intact for a long time. You can also share chakra among your shadow clones." Menma was celebrating as though he didn't care about it. He perhaps listened to no other part than the memory relay system and chakra sharing. Shadow Clone Izuna put his arm to his head and said, "Now we shall work on your Rasengan. Show me your Rasengan. Use it on the ground right over here." Menma channeled chakra and concentrated it above his palm. The chakra started to take a spherical form. Soon it had a spherical form and Menma hit it at the ground. It formed a small crater which could be considered as a toe of some animal which was slightly bigger than a human. Menma looked up to him in a glorious way. Izuna sighed and told him, "That is not a proper Rasengan. It is too small to be called a Rasengan. The basics are the same but you need to concentrate a much more chakra for it to be called a Rasengan. Look at this." Saying so, Izuna formed a Rasengan in his hand. It was much bigger than Menma's. He hit it at the ground and it formed a huge crater compared to Menma's. Shadow Clone Izuna told, "See Menma, though mine was only slightly larger, it had much more chakra than yours making a greater impact. You will have to do better than your Rasengan for it to actually be called one. You need to channel more chakra into your Rasengan if you want it to be greater, have a much greater impact." Menma now put his head down in sadness. He then put his head back up and asked, "What should I do now?" Shadow Clone Izuna looked at Menma sulking and said, "You need to practice more. Besides, the more you practice, the more bowls of ramen I shall treat you to." Menma was kind of sad but he was up to the challenge. He was getting ready to make a Rasengan when Shadow Clone Izuna said, "Use some shadow clones. You'll be able to gain more experience faster." Menma hadn't thought of it. He directly performed the hand sign for Shadow Clone Jutsu and 10 shadow clones of Menma popped up next to him. All of them started practicing the Rasengan. All of a sudden, that side of Training Ground Zero became the loudest place in Konoha. On the other side of Training Ground Zero, Shadow Clone Izuna intended to teach him Chidori/1000 bird/Raikirin/lightning blade. But he needed to know if Sasuke had lightning-style nature so he took out a chakra paper from his pocket and asked Sasuke to channel his chakra into it. It got divided into two equal halves, one burning down and the other getting wrinkled. Sasuke didn't know what had just happened. He asked, "Why did only half of it burn and why did the other half get wrinkled?" Shadow Clone Izuna wasn't surprised. He said, "This means you have equal affinities for fire and lightning. The half which burned down shows your affinity for fire and the part which crumbled shows your affinity for fire and the wrinkled part shows your affinity for lightning. We will increase the strength of your fire style and lightning style over the first 2 weeks and in the third week, we will concentrate on something I like to call chakra armor." Sasuke was clearly excited. He had heard of the Gondaime's chakra armor and he was going to be taught how to do it. He had also seen Naruto do it, though it was only lightning-style armor. Sasuke had never known that Naruto could do that and in a flash he had stabbed Itachi. When had he gotten so fast? Sasuke had to leave all of that and get to Naruto's level as quickly as possible. He had to be the one to kill Itachi. It had to be him. No one else would do. He had to get his revenge on Itachi for killing his mother and father. Shadow Clone Izuna said, "Hit me with the strongest fire style you know." Right away Sasuke got as much as chakra as he could and said, "Fire style, great fireball jutsu." A fireball came from his mouth. Izuna was impressed. It was large for Sasuke's age. If only he had better chakra control, he could have made a much bigger fireball. Shadow Clone Izuna said, "Sasuke, you are strong, but not strong enough. You need to work harder on your chakra control if you ever want to get ahead of Naruto, Mito, and Menma. Naruto and Menma have almost perfect chakra control. With the amount of chakra you just used to make a fireball, Naruto can make a fireball 5 times bigger. Just a little more practice, and you will also be able to do so." The words hit Sasuke as a bullet. Naruto could make a fireball 5 times larger than his with the same amount of chakra. He was leagues behind Naruto. If he didn't do anything fast, he would always be leagues behind Naruto. He couldn't let that happen. He asked with determination, "What do I do for me to have perfect chakra control?" Shadow Clone Izuna grinned and said, "Practice. That is all you can do right now." Sasuke was expecting a better answer than what he got, but if practicing was all he could do, he would do it until he became stronger than Naruto and then go after Itachi. If practicing was all he could do, he would do it until he became stronger than Naruto. He started practicing his again. The same day, in the evening, Konohagakure, Naruto, Mito, Menma and Sasuke were returning to their homes. Naruto was clearly strained. He wasn't his usual self. He was clearly acting as though he had been on the brink of death, which he had. His eyes were very drowsy. His clothes looked as though he had rolled in a mud pole, which he had incidentally done to keep himself alive when he had been attacked by few hundred kunai. Mito asked him, "What's wrong with you, Naruto? Stop acting like that." Naruto answered, "You don't know how brutal my Tosan can be when training me. I almost died today. Did you? The worst thing that ever happened to you today is probably that you had to dodge a blunt wooden kunai. I had to send a kunai coming at me faster than sound into my Kamui times pace. Did you have to do that? I had to injure my father by using Kamui when he was almost at half his top speed. Did you have to do that? I am going to go to Ichiraku Ramen and get myself a few bowls of good old ramen right now. You can join if you want." Mito was clearly shocked. Compared to the hardships Naruto had gone through that day, her training regimen was too gentle. Naruto asked, "What did Tosan make you guys do today?" Mito answered, "Well, we practiced my Kamui skills. My first time was better than your first time. So that makes me better than huh?" Naruto didn't quite understand her. Had she just forgotten that he could almost send a kunai faster than sound into his Kamui times pace? First times were nothing. He grunted, "HN." Mito was quite displeased at hearing this. She angrily said, "So what if you are better than me right now? I will be better than you by the time we graduate academy." Naruto was clearly unable to understand Mito's resolve. They were on completely different levels. She might be good but she had years to go before becoming as strong as him. He said, "I like your resolve but good luck at doing it, HN." Mito answered angrily, "HN." She couldn't bear this attitude of Naruto today. Maybe his training had been worse than hers but this was still no way to behave. Naruto on the other hand just wanted to go to Ichiraku and get a good amount of ramen and then sleep. The next day was going to be worse for Naruto and Izuna would not let Naruto finish the regimen easily. He needed rest if he were to survive the next day. They soon reached Ichiraku. Naruto sat down and said, "2 large miso char suai ramen." Menma also ordered the same thing. Mito and Sasuke ordered plain ramen. Naruto gobbled one entire bowl of ramen in an instant as though he had never had food in the past year. He looked at Menma and Sasuke and said, "You never told me what my father made the two of you do today." "Tell me," Menma enthusiastically answered, "He made me practice my Rasengan. I can land a good blow now. I can also make a good amount of shadow clones and by the way, today ramen is on your father." Naruto was impressed at the fact that his father would be paying for ramen. Now he would stuff himself up as much as he wanted. This was going to be fun for him. This was his way of making his father pay up for all the hardships he went through that day to stay alive. He right away said, 4 orders of large miso char suai ramen please." Mito was clearly surprised at his sudden change of mood. The fact that ramen was on his father today made him want to eat as much as he wanted. A part of Mito felt that Naruto was more addicted to ramen than Menma was. Naruto then went along and said, "You might eventually become stronger than my father, Menma." Menma wasn't expecting this from Naruto. He beamed in glory. Mito on the other hand had clearly lost it. She channeled chakra into her palms and shot down Naruto big time. He was injured. He couldn't possibly believe that he had been shot down with so much force. He clearly ignored it despite his senses having told him, dodge it. He had paid the price. Fortunately, his chakra reserves were huge. They would heal him soon. Mito said, Menma can eventually become stronger than Izuna-sama, but I can't become stronger than you. Naruto said, he can become stronger than my father. Not stronger than me, Mito. No one will become stronger than me when I am at my peak. I will become the strongest person to have lived. Believe it. You are no exception either. Even you won't grow stronger than me. My father, yes. You'll become stronger than my father. But me, you are not even close. Mito was clearly angry. She manifested her Sharingan and then her Mangekyo Sharingan. Naruto was clearly pissing her off right now. She wanted to use Kamui on him right now. Right then, Sasuke, who was clearly pissed off by the fight of these two, said, Fire style, great fireball jutsu. This was going to be hard for Naruto to deflect. Instead he did the best thing he could. He used Kamui on the fireball coming towards him. It instantly disappeared. Sasuke couldn't believe his eyes. His fireball had been undone in a flash by Naruto. Izuna, who was sensing this happening from his office, smiled at Naruto's quick-wittedness. Had nothing been done, Izuna would just send it above the sea where it would hit the sea and then go to Ichiraku and scold these children for fighting in a place where it could harm civilians. He would still lecture the four of them, but a little while later when they reached the Uchiha clan compound. Meanwhile, in Ichiraku, Naruto was impressed at Sasuke's fireball. He had improved. All four of them were on their feet. Naruto said, first we eat. Then if you want to take this outside, I will be your guest. I cannot let this ramen go to waste. Menma agreed and they all sat down to continue eating. Ichiraku Tuchi let a sigh of relief. Then Izuna appeared. He said, Ichiraku-san, can you make a bowl of miso char sui ramen for me? Ichiraku Tuchi said, Hi Hokage-sama. Soon they all finished eating and Izuna paid for the bill. He couldn't actually believe that Naruto and Menma had each eaten 30 bowls of large miso char sui ramen in a competition. He couldn't believe his bad luck with his money. He had to go home now with an empty wallet. He teleported the four of them back to the Uchiha compound. The Uchiha compound, Konohagakure. The four of them were surprised that Izuna had arrived. If not, they would have gone to Training Ground 3 and fought it out between themselves, with Naruto clearly emerging victorious. None of them could imagine anything otherwise. So either way, they were happy Izuna had come. Izuna was clearly angry at them. Naruto actually was about to pee in his pants. Everybody was clearly scared right now. Izuna's killing intent was like none others. When fully unleashed, it would most probably destroy all the 5 nations in one small blow. That was how strong Izuna was. His kids knew nothing of that, but Naruto could feel a lot of chakra coming from Izuna. His chakra levels were completely different from what he had seen in the morning. Izuna was clearly angry on them. He said, What were you doing, fighting in a civilian-populated area? You could have killed people. What is wrong with you? Mito, I thought I told you that overusage of the Mangekyo Sharingan can make you go blind. And you Naruto, I thought I asked you not to run around showing off your powers. Just because you are stronger than your peers, stop acting as though you are the greatest human alive. You are extremely arrogant with that attitude. You never act like that. What was wrong today? Naruto couldn't believe his luck. He was being scolded this badly by his father. Izuna wasn't using any chakra to discipline them, because right now if he did discipline them, they would not survive. Naruto was clearly scared to the bone and was shivering. He knew that he was seeing what no one else was. There were over 10 invisible shadow clones which only he could see using his Rinnegan. They were ready to restrain the four of them if they got some ideas. Izuna was using Limbo Jailer and the four of them would be no match for them. Izuna was taking all the precautions he possibly could. Naruto was shivering and said, Sorry, Tosan. Shall never show off my Popo powers again. Especially in civilian people populated areas. Izuna said, Good, so you three are not going to show off your powers in civilian populated areas either. If you do, you are grounded. Saying so, Izuna disappeared. All the invisible shadow clones Naruto was seeing were also gone. Naruto fell on his knees and breathed a sigh of relief. The rest of them were extremely shocked at Naruto's behavior. She thought that he was really scared of his father. Izuna-sama was not scary unless he looked you in the eye when he was angry. Probably Naruto saw something different using his eyes. Menma looked at Naruto and said, Ha, despite all of your strength you can't stand up to Tosan. Look at me. I can do that while you can't. Ha. Naruto's mood suddenly changed from scared to angry. Menma got the same vibes from Naruto as he got from Izuna. He stepped back in fear. Then almost all of a sudden his mood changed again. He said, "Ha, you can't even stand up to me when I am angry." "You're talking about standing up to Tosan," and laughed, and the four of them laughed and went to their respective homes. A day before the beginning of the academy, Training Ground 3, Konohagakure. Naruto, Mito, Sasuke and Menma had assembled for the last day of their training by Izuna. From the next day, they would go to the academy, which was a waste of time according to Izuna, and ever since the Uchiha massacre, no one was going to be allowed to graduate from the academy before the age of 12. The standards of the academy had also gone far below what they were previously. The academy also took huge amounts of time. Almost half the day was spent uselessly in the academy according to Izuna. The only reason the academy was helpful was because it allowed you to make new friends. Else it was clearly useless, which was why Izuna had taken the leave of 1 month to train the four of them perfectly. Now, that 1 month was coming to an end. Today, they would all be testing their abilities together against him. He hoped that they would be able to keep him from sending out any jutsu, but knowing Naruto and Menma, he thought that he would be on the receiving end more than the sending end. He said, "You four have until noon to get one of these bells from me. As you can see, there are only 2 bells. The 2 which do not get any bells will neither be allowed to have lunch nor be allowed to have dinner. You will also not be allowed to have breakfast the next morning. I hope that I have made it clear to the 4 of you. Your time begins in 3, 2, 1, now." All of them dispersed and met at the same point. Naruto said, "He wants to check our teamwork. It's best if we work together. We will all get our next 3 meals properly." Sasuke arrogantly said, "You might need teamwork. I can get it by myself." Naruto said, "Don't be arrogant, Sasuke. If you are arrogant, you will end up without any food for the next 24 hours and you will make the rest of us end up in the same condition as you. I and Mito shall make an opening and distract Tosan while you and Naruto go get the bells. It is bound to fail, but it will impress my father that we are working together and might just show us sympathy at noon and permit us to have food." Sasuke said, "HN," and jumped and went to get the bells himself. Menma did not want to wait for Naruto, Mito and Sasuke and jumped right in front of Izuna. Izuna was not surprised at Menma's behavior. He still needed to learn a lot about being a shinobi. Izuna looked surprised at Menma, yet that was in his nature. He said, "What do you plan on doing coming at me like that?" Menma said, "The others are planning on some strategy I don't understand and I clearly don't want to wait for them. So I came over here myself to take on you." Izuna sighed and said, "Try all you want," and opened one of Jiraiya's books, The Tales of a Gusty Ninja. Over the course of almost 1 month, Menma had been practicing nothing but the Rasengan. Just one Rasengan of his could level an entire building. That was just a normal Rasengan. He had gotten a little higher and went for the giant Rasengan. That could probably destroy the great stone faces in just one blow. Menma did the hand sign for Shadow Clone Jutsu and about 15 shadow clones of himself popped right next to him. They were all doing the Rasengan. Menma and his shadow clones jumped at Izuna with the Rasengans about to hit Izuna. Izuna said, "Almighty push." And all the shadow clones of Menma flew away, dispelling simultaneously. Menma couldn't believe what had just happened. All of a sudden Izuna was behind Menma in a crouched position. He said, "Fire style. 1,000,000 years of pain." Naruto instantly got to know that his father was going to destroy Menma. He also had limbo jailers restraining Menma. Naruto had to do something. Though his teleportation was not as accurate as his father's, he could save Menma. He instantly teleported Menma to a different place and Izuna's hand went through thin air. Menma did not know what had happened and concluded that Naruto must have saved him. Izuna got up said, "Naruto, I will first take care of you. Else it is going to be a pain to defeat the others with you coming in the middle all the time. Now show yourself, or do you want me to come to you?" Naruto knew he was done for and told Mito, "We shall create an opening now and hope that Menma and Sasuke use that opening." He teleported himself and Mito and teleported Naruto to where they had come from. Naruto manifested a full chakra armor and it contained both fire style and lightning style. It had the 6 paths symbol on both the back and front. Izuna was impressed at Naruto's armor yet again. Over the course of the first week, he had almost perfected his Kamui and Amaterasu and could manifest a full body armor and could even do a level 4 Susanoo. Then he began to practice his Rinnegan abilities. He could do universal pull and almighty push almost perfectly. They were the easiest. He could absorb weak jutsu and pure chakra if he was in physical contact with the person whose chakra he was absorbing. He could create one limbo jailer. He could teleport well, though he was not perfect. He could teleport anything accurate to 2 meters. That was good. He was extremely quick. He could create gravity and create many moons. His wood style had also gotten better. Mito on the other hand had gotten close to Naruto's level of perfection of the abilities of the Mangekyou Sharingan and could also do a level 4 Susanoo. She could do level 3 Susanoo and could absorb water like the second Hokage. Her fire style was also good. It was almost a fifth as strong as Itachi's. Naruto and Mito together did a Susanoo. This surprised Izuna. They were able to go all the way to level 5 together. Then an equal number of shadow clones of Naruto as the number of limbo jailers Izuna was using appeared, and a limbo jailer of Naruto also appeared behind Izuna. Izuna did not notice this. Then all of a sudden, they attacked simultaneously and Naruto's limbo jailer restrained Izuna while keeping him from infusing any chakra. Izuna absorbed the limbo jailer of Naruto and hit the Susanoo head-on. Naruto was not done yet. Izuna was now open to attack. Naruto teleported Sasuke and Menma to where they were just in front of Izuna in a perfect position to dislodge Izuna. Izuna noticed this. He saw that Naruto made use of the situation, and now that Izuna's chakra was directly in contact with Naruto's, the only option was to absorb the Susanoo and then teleport. The conditions gave him very little time to do so. He absorbed the Susanoo, and just as Naruto's and Sasuke's foot was going to make contact with Izuna's chest, he teleported to the ground and Naruto did the same, and all of them were on the ground. Sasuke had manifested a chakra armor made of lightning and fire styles, except, the chakra was in the leg and not in the arm. When both were combined, an entire limb was still his limit, but if it was just one, he could do it in 2 limbs. Izuna knew that he had underestimated them. All the 4 of them were working together. This was not going to be as easy as Izuna had expected it to be. Though he had not expected them to work together, but he had overestimated their strength when they worked together, he was sure of that. He had been expecting more than what he had received from them. He grinned and said, "Good job catching me off guard, but I assure you, you will not catch me off guard again." Izuna thought to himself that he would not make them fast for the next 24 hours and decided that he would get them ramen at Ichiraku's. Naruto on the other hand tensed a little more, knowing that he was done for by seeing that grin on his father's face. He remembered the mental note he had made on the first day, and it had always proved to be right. Meanwhile, Naruto and the others were thinking that they were done for and they would have to fast for the next 24 hours. While they were thinking, Izuna said, "Naruto, I will first take care of you. Then I shall take care of the others. You are causing troubles to me right now." Izuna came and crouched right behind Naruto, and about 2 limbo jailers were restricting everybody to where they were. They could not move. 4 limbo jailers were restricting Naruto to his place. Izuna said, "Fire style, 1,000,000 years of pain." He was about to thrust it into Naruto when all of a sudden, 1 limbo jailer of Naruto was keeping Izuna from using fire style, 1,000,000 years of pain on him. Then he used as much as chakra as he could and teleported himself to another place and did the hand sign for shadow clone jutsu, and 12 shadow clones of Naruto popped up right next to him. Naruto then teleported the rest of them next to him. He said, "You will have to do better than that if you want to put me down." Naruto wasn't easy to put down. Izuna had to agree. Izuna also couldn't use strong jutsu because they were still not god enough to stop them. He said, "Well, you escaped me this time. Now escape this. Universal pull." Saying so, he raised his arm and manifested a lightning and fire style armor on his arm, and Naruto came flying towards Izuna. Naruto's chakra armor was no match for Izuna's. The only thing Naruto could do now was almighty push. He said, "Almighty push." And all of a sudden, just before he was stabbed by Izuna's arm, he stopped and then he teleported back to where he came from. He was shivering and all of a sudden, an alarm rang and it was already noon. None of them had gotten a bell. Izuna said, "I give you half an hour more to get at least one of these bells." Naruto took the chance and got in the same position as Izuna had gotten a few minutes ago and used all the shadow clones he had and the limbo jailer of his to restrict Izuna's limbo jailers and Izuna himself, with one of them hitting Izuna at a vital chakra point, thus keeping him from using any of the Rinnegan's abilities, and Naruto used fire style, 1,000,000 years of pain on him. But contradicting Naruto's thoughts and expectations, Izuna absorbed the jutsu and dodged it, then teleported from there. He was impressed and said, "You did well, Naruto, but did not get the bell." Naruto said, "Which bell?" "This bell?" showing the bell he had taken from Izuna just before he had teleported. Izuna was surprised. Naruto had gotten a bell for Izuna, and when he checked, both the bells were gone. Naruto said, "Yeah, I took both bells. I know this was supposed to be a team exercise. But we did work together, which created these openings for me to get these bells." Izuna was not surprised. The 4 of them had made full use of Naruto's Rinnegan. Despite the fact that they were more or less against each other in the beginning, they had managed to catch him off guard and almost land a blow on Izuna, and then Naruto had gotten the bells. Izuna knew that they didn't get the bells as a team, but there was a bit of teamwork in them, and this was enough according to Izuna. Izuna said, "Despite the fact that only Naruto got the bells, There was a little bit of teamwork in there, and for that I shall allow you to eat today's lunch, dinner and tomorrow's breakfast and dinner at Ichiraku Ramen today, and it's on me. Congrats. Anyway, no more than 2 bowls per head. I don't want to go bankrupt." The 4 of them were clearly happy at the fact that they didn't have to fast. Now they had a few boring years at the academy to look forward to. Hopefully it wouldn't be as boring as Izuna told them it would be. The next day, the academy, Konohagakure, Naruto, Mito, Menma and Sasuke walked into their classrooms. Unlike a normal day, Naruto was wearing white robes with the Uchiha clan symbol on the back. Menma was wearing the usual orange he loved. He had the Uzumaki symbol on the back. Mito was wearing a blue shirt with the Uchiha clan symbol on the back, with Sasuke also in similar fashion. This batch was filled with clan heirs. The Yamanaka clan heiress Ino Yamanaka was there sitting with a civilian. Ino Yamanaka was wearing a purple dress all over. The girl next to her was wearing a red dress. They were probably friends. The Hyuga clan heiress Hinata Hyuga was also sitting with them. She was wearing a white jacket. Naruto wouldn't be wrong to call her extremely shy. The Inuzuka clan heir, Kiba Inuzuka, was sitting along with the Aburame clan heir Shino Aburame. Kia was wearing a gray jacket and white shorts. He had a puppy on his head. He also had markings on his face more or less showing that he was an Inuzuka. Shino on the other hand was wearing goggles to keep his eyes from being and was wearing a gray jacket and gray trousers. The Nara clan heir Shikamaru Nara was sitting with Kuuji Akimichi, the Akimichi clan heir. Naruto went and sat along with Shikamaru and Kuuji. Shikamaru asked, "Are you Naruto Uchiha, son of the Hokage and heir to the Uchiha clan?" Naruto laughed and said, "Well, when you say it like that it makes me feel dignified, which I clearly am not, and drop that stern look from your face. Doesn't look good on you." Shikamaru was surprised at his behavior. Most Uchiha were rarely ever friendly. He would clearly like the friendship of a cheerful Uchiha. Naruto soon developed a friendship with Shikamaru and Kuuji, and the 3 of them were almost as inseparable as the Ino Shikacho group. Mito on the other hand went and sat with Hinata. Mito became more or less instant friends with Hinata. Sasuke and Menma went and sat on different desks all by themselves. Menma soon became a friend of Shikamaru, Kuuji, and Kiba. Sasuke on the other hand stayed to himself and didn't make any friends. Then they met their Chunin instructor, Iruka, who was going to be training them. Soon, Naruto, Mito, Menma and Sasuke figured that academy was even more boring than Izuna had told them. The only ninjutsu that was taught was the henge/transformation and bunshin/clone. Nothing was taught about chakra control. The only thing that was taught about genjutsu was how it worked. Taijutsu was taught as physical education in the academy. They usually sparred and clan heirs were pit against civilians, in which clan heirs usually won. The only interesting spar would be between Sasuke and Naruto, with both of them using Interceptor Fist and nothing else. Neither used any ninjutsu whatsoever because they knew that Naruto would emerge victorious. Despite Sasuke being levels lower than Naruto in almost everything else, his Interceptor Fist was just as good as Naruto's. That was a true spar. What the others did was just a small hop compared to Naruto and Sasuke's spar. During the academy years, Naruto would usually just send a shadow clone to academy and train by the Uchiha shrine. Menma usually didn't care and slept at the academy and usually got discipline for it. Mito didn't care and just sent a shadow clone to academy and read old scrolls and some novels. Sasuke just went to academy and came back and then trained. Over the years, Naruto and Sasuke had a horde of girls behind each of them. Naruto's fangirls were led by Ino Yamanaka. Naruto had lost count of how many times she had tried to get close to him. She might have been attractive, but she was clearly not his type. Sasuke's fangirls were led by Sakura Haruno. Naruto couldn't believe that someone could be as loud as she was. Mito also had her own fan club. She was clearly attractive. Naruto only saw her as a sister, but few people knew that he would feel in a completely different way towards her in a few years. Her fan club was led by Inuzuka Kiba, who had asked her out over 50 times during the academy years, all of which she had turned down in an ice-cold manner. So much so that she got the nickname the new Ice Queen of Konoha. Menma on the other hand was clearly avoided by most of the girls except Hinata and Mito. Naruto knew that if Menma showed his full strength, all the girls would leave Sasuke and go behind him. He didn't know why they avoided him. Nevertheless, he was still popular because he was the brother/friend of Naruto and was also respected for his strength among the boys of the class. 3-year time lapse. The Hokage's office, Konohagakure. It was now 3 years since the Uchiha clan massacre. Naruto rarely ever went to the academy. Menma's pranks on the other hand had gone up tenfold. Thanks to him, The Hyuga were the laughingstock of the village and were also the reason Izuna was more or less bankrupt right now. Luckily he hadn't taken any loans to repay the Hyuga, else he would have been in more debt than Lady Tsunade, and she was known as the legendary sucker for gambling. He would be really happy if Menma stopped his pranks. Thanks to Menma, the Hyuga compound was now called the Fortress of Death, with no one being allowed close to it without permission of the Hyuga Patriarch, but yet Menma had pulled off pranks against them. Once he had gone so far that they started using the harshest jutsu of 8 trigrams against him. He still managed to prank them big. This earned him the name God of all pranksters. He became a legend among all students, all boys and a few girls. After this, a few girls stopped going behind Sasuke and went behind him, but he was clearly not interested in that kind of thing. Though Menma didn't understand why Hinata still went behind him even though the Hyuga were the butt of most of his jokes. Menma had also become much stronger over the years. He could level the Hokage Tower with his Rasengan, but after that, his chakra would be depleted, though in just a few years, his chakra would be so much more than what he had right now. Naruto could do level 5 Susanoo now and had almost perfected the abilities of his Rinnegan. Mito could do a level 4 Susanoo and was almost as good as the Nidaime Hokage with water style, and she would be just as good if not for her not having a lot of chakra. Sasuke's fire style was a third as strong as Itachi's and would be just as strong as Itachi's if he had more chakra. All in all, Naruto, Menma, Mito and Sasuke were going to be strong shinobi. Izuna felt that Naruto was old enough to know the truth about the Uchiha clan massacre and that Itachi was not really responsible for the clan massacre. He sensed that Naruto had actually gone to Academy Toti. He might want to discuss something with Shikamaru. Naruto had been to the Uchiha shrine the previous day and read the shrine for the first time. He probably wanted to discuss more about it with Shikamaru. Anyway, Izuna had to discuss something more important with Naruto and he teleported. The academy, Konohagakure. Izuna had teleported directly to the class in which Naruto was studying. The students were astounded at this. Iruka bowed down and asked, "What brings you here, Hokage-sama?" Izuna politely said, "I would like to borrow Naruto for a while." "Naruto, leave a shadow clone here and come with me." Naruto did as he was told and left with Izuna as they both teleported to a different location. Most people were stunned at this. Naruto's fangirls just cheered at the fact that he could do a Jonin level ninjutsu. His friends weren't surprised at all. They knew that he was really good, but they didn't know just how good he was. No one knew just how good he was. Even Izuna just knew a range for his strength at least as strong as the Sandaime, weaker than himself. Iruka was surprised and said, "Anyways, let's continue with our class." Izuna's house, Uchiha clan compound, Konohagakure. Izuna smiled and said, "You actually went to the academy today. I can't believe you. You rarely ever go to the academy. What compelled you to go this time?" Naruto started sweating all over. He said, "What? I always go to academy. Why would I not?" He did not want to be discovered. Izuna frowned and said, "Naruto, don't you for a moment think you can fool me? You always send a shadow clone to academy and train at home. If I were in your position, I would also have done the same thing. Anyways, I need to tell you something important." Naruto had been surprised that he was discovered. He had been using level 3 seals to keep himself from being discovered. When he didn't go to the academy he would practice Fuuin Jutsu/sealing with Mito, and they had scaled up to level 4 sealing till now. They were almost as good as Kakashi in sealing. Naruto eventually wanted to become a sealer greater than the Yondaime, who was said to have been able to put a seal wherever his chakra was connected to him. He was hailed as the greatest sealer of his era. Naruto didn't think that it would be possible for anyone to discover him, but his father had once again shown that he was stronger than Naruto had expected and discovered him. He dropped the act and said, "Yeah, I didn't go to the academy ever except for today. Don't tell anyone." Instead of going to the academy, he would go to the Uchiha shrine and practice his jutsu. Yesterday was still the first day he had actually read the shrine, though it didn't contain anything he did not know. It did say something about two opposites working together to create everything. Naruto had assumed that it meant that yin and yang working together created everything. It also said that the shrine had been placed there by Rikudo-sen and Hagoromo Otsutsuki and was written by him. Naruto needed to know who this Hagoromo Otsutsuki was. Izuna then became emotionless and said, "I need to tell you the truth of the Uchiha massacre." Naruto was shocked at what he was hearing. The truth about the Uchiha massacre. Naruto didn't know what to make of it. He said, "I already know what happened. Itachi cracked under the pressure he was put on and then massacred the clan, then joined the mercenary group Akatsuki. There is nothing else to it." Izuna grunted and said, "You know nothing of the clan massacre. What you know is just a hoax created by the elders and leaders of the village to keep the village from breaking into civil war. The real story is a huge secret guarded by us leaders of the village." Itachi did not panic under pressure and massacre the clan because of that. Naruto was angry at his father right now. The room was somehow flooded with killing intent. He said, "So, you forgave Itachi for killing off mother? That is why he is still alive." Naruto was boiling with rage. How could his father have forgiven Itachi for killing his mother? Izuna, to counter Naruto's killing intent, flooded the room with his own by angrily saying, "Itachi did not kill your mother, neither did he kill Shisui nor did he take Shisui's eyes." Naruto couldn't believe what his father was saying. He let go of the killing intent and the anger and said, "What do you mean?" Izuna also let go the anger and killing intent and said, "I mean exactly what I said. Itachi didn't kill your mother. It is a person who calls himself Madara Uchiha. I can't track him. But once he gets in range for me to teleport to him, he will be dead. As for Shisui, he committed suicide after being badly injured by the elder of village and current SS criminal, Danzo Shimura. He also has the Rinnegan which he gained by stealing Mangekyou Sharingan and grafting the cells of Hashirama Senju into himself. Danzo stole one eye of Shisui and Shisui gave his other eye for protection to Itachi, then committed suicide by falling down the final valley. Danzo then had Itachi massacre the clan. I shall tell you this, had Itachi not done so, I myself would have massacred everyone myself." Naruto was more than shocked at what he was hearing. Izuna said, "The reason why Itachi massacred the clan is much more complicated. The Uchiha were planning a coup d'etat to take command over the village and rebel against me. A secret society within the Uchiha formed with hatred rising due to many suspicions placed on them. Their demands were exorbitant. If I agreed to them, the village would break into civil war against the Uchiha and me, leading to a fourth great shinobi war. If I did not agree to their demands, they would take control by force, which would again lead to civil war, then again leading to the fourth great shinobi war for control of Konoha. I initially wanted to do something to save my Uchiha brethren, but it soon dawned upon me that in the current situation, getting rid of the clan was the only viable option." Naruto said in a depressed tone, "There is always a way to save everyone." Izuna also let his emotions leak. He said, "Not always. You will understand later. This time clearly there was no chance to save everyone. Had Minato lived, there would be a chance of doing so, but not now." Naruto said, "I understand why Itachi massacred the clan, but he is a criminal because he joined the Akatsuki." Izuna smiled and said, "He is actually a spy inside the Akatsuki for Konoha. I was the one who gave him that mission." Naruto was shocked at what he was hearing. Izuna then said, "You only know this because you are an Uchiha. You will not reveal anything from what you heard to anybody else. Not even your closest friends or siblings." Naruto said, "I won't reveal it to anyone." Izuna said, "Good. It might be a lot to take in, but what I told you is the truth. The truth is never simple and always harsh. We have to live with it. Now off you go to the academy." Izuna teleported Naruto to the academy and rested in peace and went back to his office to take care of paperwork sitting in his office. 2-year time lapse. The day of graduation exam. It was time for graduation from the academy. The exams were to be held that day. All of them were asked to write a written exam first. Most of them passed easily. Menmo had barely passed. Then it was turn for the projectile skills exams. Naruto and Mito got a perfect score of 20 on 20. Sasuke got a good 17 on 20 and Naruto achieved 15 on 20, being a few of the best scores. Then the ninjutsu skills were tested. Everybody was asked to do the Henja and the Bunshin no Jutsu. Everyone did it easily. Naruto henged into Madara Uchiha. All of the youngsters mistook him for a transformation into Izuna, but Iruka understood that it was Madara. There were differences between Madara and Izuna. He was surprised. He was thinking why Naruto did that. Nevertheless, Naruto then transformed back to himself. He was very tall for his age. He was now almost as tall as Madara and even looked a lot like Madara in his peak. Everyone was just pissed, thinking that he had just transformed to make him a few centimeters taller and make his hair a little more unkempt. They didn't like the fact that he just made himself taller and he could pass easily. He then did Bunshin. About 50 Bunshin popped around. Everyone was surprised. They all popped and Naruto passed. He took his headband and took a place. Sasuke soon followed and did the same, but he henged into his father. Soon Mito came to finish her exam. She henged into the ideal form of herself which she wanted for, and she got a lot of cheers from the boys. She then completed the Bunshin, took her headband and moved ahead. Menma then came and did the henge. He henged into something that gave Iruka the biggest nosebleed in his life. Menma transformed back and did the hand sign for the cage Bunshin, and a few shadow clones of himself popped up next to him. Iruka was surprised. He didn't know that Menma could do the cage Bunshin. He passed Menma and Menma was now a Genin. The same day night, In the Uchiha clan compound, Mizuki, who had been one of the judges of the graduation exam, had come by to visit Menma. Menma just came in. When he saw Mizuki, he said, "Sensei, what are you doing here?" Mizuki said, "I just wanted to talk to you. Can you come to the forest with me?" Menma said, "Fine." They soon reached the forest when Mizuki said, "Now, I shall kill you and then take revenge on Konoha." Menma was shocked. He hadn't seen this coming. He asked, "Why do you want to kill me?" Mizuki said, "How would you know? You monster fox. No one has yet told you." Of course, this all makes sense. No one would tell you what you really are, you monster fox. You are the nine-tailed fox which attacked the village 12 years ago and killed everybody. You are nothing but a monster. Right then Izuna appeared. He said, "You have said and done enough damage. I shall not allow you to do any more damage." Mizuki stood in shock. All of a sudden, he felt many people binding him. Izuna manifested the Chidori and stabbed Mizuki with it. He said, "You are the true monster here, Mizuki." Mizuki collapsed with a lot of blood flowing from his body. Izuna turned towards Menma and said, "You don't need to worry, Menma. You are no monster. I intended to tell you this once you were completely ready to take on the QB, but since you already know, I shall tell you this. The QB is no demon either. He has been through the same treatment you received by the villagers, by everyone and all the time. He is just a misunderstood person, not unlike you were misunderstood by everyone in the village." Menma took all of that in. He was crying right now. Somewhere deep down the QB was also listening to this. He could also not believe that Izuna, who was the grandson of Madara Uchiha, thought of him this way. The QB hoped that the tailed beasts might at last get some respect if Izuna wanted that. Izuna did remind the QB of the Sage of Six Paths. He thought he would never meet another person like that ever, but Izuna was just like that, and he intended to turn Menma into a person who would bring peace to the tailed beasts. But the QB thought that even Izuna was just a person who was here for his power like everyone was. He was after all the grandson of Madara Uchiha. He would never expect anything good from the progeny of Madara Uchiha. He hoped that at least he would be able to get out of Menma by giving him his chakra. Yes, that was what he would do until he got out and exact revenge on Izuna. That's the end, guys. If you enjoyed, then make sure to leave a comment. This is Chaos Shinobi signing off.